Sweet.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? We got some guests. And,
What's up, guys?
You're a pretty cool guest, I gotta say.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm saying that. Hopefully you guys feel the same.
Yeah, some of them are more cooler than others.
Well, you're hanging out on the beach, so.
Depends where people are located on your feed there, Jason. So
yeah, they may have moved.
Yeah.
Those ones.
All right. Well,
No.
let's introduce, for anybody who's new in the chat here, we've got some extra faces with us. This is Dylan von Kleist and Jason Rose. Now, if we could get a little brief bio on each one of you, from each one of you, just to kind of warm us up here. Why don't you take it first, Jason?
Okay, I'm not wearing pants.
Okay.
Well, that's a great start.
Good to know.
Excellent start.
No.
I gotta go.
Pajamas is the uniform.
All right.
Yeah, Jason Rose, RUPES. I'm our global trainer. Also on our product development team. Had a detail business for 12 years and have been detailing pretty much my whole life. And it's odd to say it, but I really miss polishing on paint right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm missing our
There's only
classes.
so much paint on your trailer that you can keep polishing too.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Start on the inside.
Yeah.
All right, that's
All
me.
right. All right. Thanks, Jason. All right, Dylan's time.
Dylan von Kleist. I'm the marketing manager for RUPES in the U.S. and North America, and I gotta start counting how many of these I've done with you guys. It kind of feels like I should have a notch or something for everyone.
Do I like a jacket?
Yeah,
Yeah.
does it come with a jacket, or do I get patches or something? Is there
Yeah,
a
patches
sort of
every time.
award
Get merit badges.
For
Yeah.
each tour you do.
we're just gonna
yeah.
put you on our 401k. And,
Oh, okay, cool.
Start giving you company benefits.
We're just going straight to money. Huh?
He says,
Okay.
I was wondering when my tenure kicked in.
Oh.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. As you all know, it's the Thursday Q&A where you may have questions and hopefully we'll have some answers for you. So for all of you that are just watching or starting and maybe you're home and this is the first one you're watching, put in your question in the comments and we literally go in order.
Yep.
And we start from the top and we work our way down. So apologies if we get on a tangent or something, we will get to them. We answer every single one that comes in. Sometimes we have to do them very quickly. Sometimes you get a long form.
Hang around, it will happen. Don't worry.
Exactly. Yep. Stay for the best parts.
Yes.
So,
all right. So
go ahead.
we'll start from the top here. We got Dan Pfeiffer says, "Good afternoon," and word up from Minneapolis. As
Classic.
usual, we have Hans Gozen in here saying, "Yay Q&A." We got Tom Kirby says, "Oh, good, a break with the TRC gang." Well, good. I'm glad that we could help you out there. And then he's already been here 25 minutes into the countdown, which is fantastic.
Ready to rock and roll.
We got Hans says, "Today I picked up my TRC Buff Bright combo package. Thanks for making that happen, both TRC and Buff Bright, and special thanks to Levi for adding those MOS goodies."
All right, you made it. You got it. Nice. Yeah, you got a couple extra stickers. So, and
does anybody speak French?
Yeah, that's French. Unfortunately, not here. Anybody else?
Sorry, Chalky.
French fries.
No.
French
Perhaps
fries.
someone in the comments could translate for us, or I'll just
Hopefully.
throw it to Google Translate here while we're going. I'll do
All right, so moving down.
Is it possible for someone to speak French? So
We have Rob Schoediger says, "Any new colors
Is it
coming
possible
in
to speak? Yeah.
towels? Would love a dark purple similar to Guion towels in the Edgeless 365 or the red in the FTW."
that's a good idea, Rob. Thank you. We probably won't do a dark purple. One of the main reasons is the amount of dye that is in those causes the towel to not be quite as soft, which is why we usually see we do a lot more lighter versions of colors. So like our lavenders and the lighter, a little bit darker pink, but we kind of do variations of that. We do some ice grays, light grays. We do a charcoal and we do a black, but those are the only towels that we do that in. But thank you for that suggestion. We can definitely come up with another purple that we can fit. And red in the FTW. I wonder what that looked like. We did make some red twist loop towels, very similar to the FTW that we made for Esoteric. And you could go to their website, see if they've got those drying towels left. We did a red one with a black suede edge. So there's
Maybe
a
a
red
Rupus
360.
red.
There's an eagle. Yeah, there you go.
How about
So,
Rupus red?
Yeah,
I'm just going to request. I want microfiber towels in various flannel patterns that I can match.
Oh, okay.
Coordinate.
I would love that.
You know,
I think we would all love
work
that.
Work
on
on that, please.
developing that tech. Yes.
We have car detailing by Pat Inc. says, can optional gloss coat be put over OEM decals and matte decals up, causing a blemish to the matte? Thank you, Pat.
yes.
Okay, well, I guess
Short
that's
That was
answer.
quick. Okay.
Yes.
Simple.
I'm
Here we
expecting
have,
a tangent.
Hans Closen says, what is the strangest thing people have asked you guys to clean / polish? We'll start with Dylan.
Oh gosh. Well, that's actually a segue because we're running a contest on polishing strange things at Rupus right now. So
Why don't you?
perfect. Wow.
move right
That-
into
that
I
just
love the
happens to be a
cleaning
good
out.
segue for that. If you want more information on that, rupususa.com/rupus-at-home.
Dylan, give us the rundown. Give us the cliff notes of what this competition is.
So this competition is, we're basically saying you can take a Rupus product and polish anything in your house that isn't a car, a boat, a motorcycle, like the typical things that you would polish. And you upload them to our contest page, and we're going to pick winners every week to get things like, I don't know, new and unreleased products.
Whoa, what is that?
Whoa.
And then we are going to let this go kind of because everybody's either, working less or stuck at home or whatever, somewhere in between, giving you something fun to do. And we are going to let this contest roll pretty much until the pandemic is mostly done. And then at the end, we're going to announce a grand prize winner, and they get a huge kit, and they get to pick the type of polisher they want. And then we are going to have one of the Art of Bigfoot painters customize that tool for them.
Holy
So,
smokes.
and
Nice.
it's open to anybody anywhere in the world. So
Nice.
you have to be in the U.S. to enter. So we've already gotten a lot of crazy stuff. So like just announced it yesterday, and there's some of the entries are coming in. I'm maybe even scared to talk about them.
Okay.
It's just because that bidet, I really like it, and I wanted to show it
Good
off. So,
segue.
Nothing wrong with that, Dylan.
You joke, but
it's,
somebody actually has already submitted a video of them polishing a toilet with a 75E. So
Wow.
Didn't take long, did it?
didn't take long. Nope.
impressive.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll pass it over to Levi. What's the strangest thing you've polished?
I had some offers to do some kind of like a pot-bellied stove with some antiques. I'm sure Anthony, you've met the old guy that comes into the store. He's one of my. I used to have these old guys that would stop by my shop, and they just want to hang out and learn how to polish, and just hang out with me for some reason. And
They're looking for a surrogate son or something.
basically, and so. Anyway, when I sold my shop and went to the rag company, they followed me. And he collects a lot of antiques, and he usually swings by my house and randomly mows my lawn for me, which is quite nice. But he always asks to
Very nice.
well, he mows the lawns at the 3 houses next to me. So while he's doing it, he's driving his ride-on lawnmower. He just does the front yard, buzzes it for me, and hits the next house. And so
Manner
it's
of
very
convenience.
nice. Yeah, very nice of him to do. And so anyway, he usually has random weird metal antiques that he wants me to polish. I had to polish the glass on a table that apparently he was like, the word on the street is it belonged to Abraham Lincoln. So, and I was like, okay. And he's one of those guys that it wouldn't surprise me if it actually was true. So doing stuff like that, that's usually the weirdest thing. But he's in the market for an LHR 75. So he wants one bad. Because after watching me use it to do all this stuff, he's like, well, I can do that. So so we'll see. But
very cool. All right, we're gonna pass over to Jason. What is the strangest thing you've been asked to polish?
Well, 2 interesting things come to mind. Remember polishing on metal sculpted artwork in Los Angeles. It was an outdoor museum, so we were asked to polish painted sculpture. The other thing that came to mind, which is top secret, so don't tell anybody.
Don't worry.
between us.
Strictly between us and
Yes,
all the people
just
watching.
keep it.
No
yeah.
one's listening.
There's only 62 people on here. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's it.
So
plus us.
in Switzerland, there was a vendor that was painting the rail cars for the Disneyland Matterhorn ride. So we were sanding and polishing on those, rail cars that go on that ride.
Oh, cool.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same
Leave-
vendor that does a lot of these, the ski lifts for ski resorts.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of those are made in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Levi, you got anything strange?
I already did it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Potbelly
yeah.
stove.
You did that potbelly stove. Dane, what about you?
My truck. That was about as strange as I got.
That was pretty strange.
Yeah. I mean, the fact I was doing it at all was what was strange.
I think
about
the
it, so-
strangest thing was he wasn't using a RUPES polisher.
Oh,
He
sorry
wa- he
about that,
wasn't.
guys.
Yeah.
I
think
had to
that's
use
our
what
cue,
was
Dylan.
handed to me.
Dylan, that's
Yeah.
our cue. We're going.
Second
now.
thing I thought about
Oh,
leaving
no.
over.
See, look, you guys ruined it already. Dang it.
Morgan, what do you got?
I don't think I've ever polished anything weird.
Just headlights mostly.
What
Yeah.
about your nails?
No. I haven't done
Never,
that.
never tried to add some gloss enhancement to those?
No.
And on that note, we move on to Cheaper 1378, who says, "Bring on a 16 by 16
We
gauntlet,
didn't ask
please."
Dylan. We didn't ask
Oh,
Dylan.
what?
No, I plugged the contest. I've polished
He did.
all kinds of weird stuff. Playground equipment.
Oh,
very
Not
nice,
as a
yeah.
personal thing. It was actually done for a municipality. I've polished artwork. I polished a piano once. That was a really weird one because it has like automotive paint, but it's like super soft. I've done
Yeah.
some strange polishing in my day.
Was it
Ooh,
a
casket.
Yamaha?
Casket. I polished a
Casket,
casket before.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's pretty strange.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
The weird part was
like
is he had to dig it up to do it.
Oh.
My God.
Strange.
Changes
He was
things,
like,
doesn't
we were
it?
like, Jason, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just gonna polish, just practicing. Practice.
You weren't supposed to see this part.
It's product testing. Why do you have a backhoe? About it. Don't worry about
Very
it.
A lot of
excited to
equipment.
exhume a grave. This is very weird.
Whoa.
All
I
right,
got it
Levi,
inappropriate.
we'll have you read Riley S. Levi.
Since the outbreak, what towels have seen an increase in sales and which have seen a decrease? Well, Riley, that's very simple. Auto detailing towels have taken a slight decrease, while all-purpose terries for the home have taken a major increase.
Yes.
Kirby Thompson, Levi, what products do you suggest to treat fabric seats? Concern is protection for a new baby, not mine, but for another grandchild due in May. So that's Kirby Thompson down in Houston. So, new product to suggest to treat fabric seats. No.
Let's throw it out to you guys. What do you think?
Which one's your favorite?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. So, like when I had kid seats,
We don't have anything right now.
when I had kid seats in my cars, like to protect the leather, I always had I like to put like 2 or 3 of my older microfibers down, so that way the thing didn't put indents in the seats. Is
Right.
that what he means? Like a super
I
thick
think he's
towel padding?
Yeah, that's one thing. My kids, I used to put a towel down for their kids' seats, just because that same reason. You'd be amazed at what they can leak. And then sometimes it's crumbs, cookies, crackers, liquids. But I've used basically I use some of the you can only buy it in Europe. It's the Wowo's fabric sealant. I know our friends at G-Technic have a great fabric sealant that you can pick up, Kirby. You go on their website and grab something. But other than that, I haven't, other than, making sure that you're protecting the seats. So, keep up on them, keep them clean, keep them nice. Maybe throw a towel down over the car seat, call it good. So
I would
Just
just
to get oh, go ahead.
just suggest that the kid ride in somebody else's car.
yeah, or that.
Yeah, just outsource your problem. So
Yeah, there you
that
go.
works. Otherwise,
Lay down-
I
yeah.
mean,
Lay down
the
some
most
drop
I
cloth
ventured
in
out
there or
was
something.
Scotch
Painted
Guard at
drops.
Home Depot. They have it in that little aerosol can. You can do that thing, but yeah, I don't know how long that's going to last if it's constantly being rubbed against by a seat being put onto a seat or something.
Here we go. We got who else do we got? Well, who's next?
Richard Wakefield. Hey guys, have you ever
Yes.
thought about selling mystery boxes of various towels and chemicals? We have, but we're still kind of trying to figure out the reasons for it, what we'd want to do, and if we need to. It's one of those things that there's a lot of other companies. There are a lot of companies that do it, and a lot of companies that do it well. Our buddy Phil at Detailer's Domain puts together a wicked mystery box, and does an awesome job at it. You know, and so for us, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, do we need to do it? Do we have to? Will it increase sales? Will it give us something to do? Possibly in the future. It's, you know, we keep it in our hip pocket just in case. But
but if we do
right
it,
now,
we want to
we're
make it
launching new
worthwhile. We want to
stuff
do
and-
something unique.
right.
I've always just wondered, you know, who was the ingenious person that first came up with a
Yeah,
detailing mystery
it's
box?
almost
like
like
it's just a super
maybe
strange
That person
concept.
could be on this very
It's strange if they just said like, man,
it's
if
a
only we could
monster
just
that I
show the
created, and now I
plastic
hate
stuff.
it. The creator hates his own creation. I remember when I came up with the idea, and it was so novel, and now everybody does it. And
Yeah.
I hate being the guy be like, I
It's
did
like
it
a
before it was
given.
cool, but
If you don't do it, there's something wrong apparently.
Well, Dylan, it wasn't you that created it. You know, Adams Polishes has been doing it for years, like
Well,
10 years.
of course.
So, you know, I don't understand how you could have created it.
Yeah,
when
that's
you're working
really,
for Rupa's Polish.
it's a
Yeah,
strange
Rupa's
thing that I
Polishes.
say. Okay, sometimes I have these seizures and I say
You
things
know,
that
the
don't make any
shine.
sense.
It was the Shine
It's all
Doctor.
a fever
The Shine
dream.
Doctor is the one that actually created that. So how dare you take, you know,
Credit for
Zero
credit
relation
from the Shine
We
Doctor.
look a lot alike, but not the
Well,
same.
he had a shorter beard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much
I think he
smaller,
actually had hair at one point too.
He might have. It's
He
possible.
might have had
Well,
hair, yeah.
You don't have to rub it in. That's kind of mean.
Well, no,
Good
I
choice,
remember
Dane.
he was, you know, he was riding around on drift trikes and
Oh, hell.
doing, what else was that? There was that weird dance back in the day,
Oh, the Harlem Shake.
Harlem Shake. Yeah, he was
Should
doing
bring
all
that
those
back.
great things. Yeah,
Boy.
we should. Oh my gosh, we should just because it'd be hilarious, and it'd probably get 0 views. But
There's a whole
Yeah,
generation
no.
of kids that don't even know what we're talking about right now. They're like, what the hell's
No.
a Harlem what?
I was about to
Yeah.
say the
Morgan
Macarena.
has
How
no
does that
idea.
feel?
Morgan's
you know
going
what
to
the
Harlem
Shake
who?
is?
Oh wow, that's weird
Morgan.
to think that that's really old now. Oh boy.
Yeah. Do you know the Harlem Shake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
All
Okay.
Wow.
Moving down the line.
Wanted to make
Not
sure.
3.
Oh boy.
Morgan, are you in Yakima?
No, she's in Windows XP.
She's
Oh,
she's
okay. This looks like it was Yakima, Washington.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I like to think
So-
of it as like a reflection of her overall life is pretty much just Windows XP.
Well, I
It's
was gonna
called
say it pretty much
Bliss.
came out the same time she was born. So
Oh, called Bliss. Very nice. Yeah. Well, it was
Oh,
Windows
boy.
98.
well,
That's me.
yeah, that's XP
So,
though, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah. So getting back to the mystery boxes, you guys can all thank Dylan Von Kleist for that.
Yes.
All day Anthony, holy crap, he's graced us with his presence.
That's
Today
weird too.
should be
Always,
awesome.
yeah.
I wonder why
So
he thinks
confused.
it wouldn't. I don't know why he wouldn't think it would be.
Yeah.
But then he goes
Yeah.
and says, "Thank you for doing this every week." So, I mean, hey man, whatever we got to do to help you get out of your slump, we
Yeah.
will.
Exactly.
You know.
That's
So,
cool.
Rommel Lacostales.
Ooh.
What taco sales? Rommel taco sales.
Oh,
What
Yep.
blend of microfiber towel can I use for clear coat installation? Lint free and 6x5 only. Thanks. Well, Mr. R
6x5.
Taco Sales, you can use the silver or gray, or not silver, but light gray pearl weaves. The edgeless pearls will work perfect for that. You can actually, if you want, you can cut them
You can trim them.
and
Yeah.
do it that
Yeah,
way.
they're
You can trim
thin
'em.
enough
Yeah.
you can trim them and not
We
have
made
too many ill
we made
effects.
a small selection of 8x8s that we did for Optimum Polymer Technologies for their wipe on clear. So we did a version of that for them. We don't have any in stock, but you can pick some up, cut them yourself. So
Yeah, towels that
Bill
size are
Lewis.
usually like a specific limited run type thing.
yeah, Bill Lewis, I have an IK Foam Pro 12 bought from TTC. I assume he means TRC.
TRC,
Uh,
perhaps.
Can I leave Meg's super degreaser in it for an extended period of time, or do I have to rinse it out after every use? You can leave it in. You just need to make sure it's not pressurized for a long period of time.
Don't leave pressure in it.
That's the biggest thing. Make sure it's depressurized. But yeah, you're fine to leave it in the Foam Pro 12. Sirs says, hi, can I watch my waffle weave with an Eagle Edgeless that I used to remove paint sealant? You can. Do you want to? Probably not. I usually like to wash my drying towels separate from anything that has paint sealants or waxes or polishes.
Agreed.
Split them up. Joe from Figuratively Detailing. Whoa, we started on time. I figured I had a few extra minutes.
Screw you, buddy.
Okay,
where you're
I
wrong.
promise that I will try to keep the fun half in the fun half, lol. And then he says, Morgan, your skin tone. So very nice of Joe to
Hey,
bring that
Dylan,
up.
Dylan, how
I don't
come we
understand
didn't
them.
get invited to the fun half?
Oh,
wait,
you're
there's a
invited.
fun half?
You are invited.
Yeah,
We're
this
gonna
was the
force
first
you-
half.
I thought this was the
Yeah.
fun half.
No,
The
this
fun
is the
half
first
happens
half.
later. Yeah.
Ah,
Then there's a fun
Yeah.
half.
You get to be in that second half,
Oh,
Jason.
sweet.
It just
Okay.
happens
Oh.
from. It'll be
When the clock
happening in
hits
about
4,
40 minutes.
all
game
bets
on.
are off.
Yeah. Suddenly the questions end up with much longer answers that go nowhere.
Well,
Hmm.
and the questions are much more unique.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay,
You might
so-
get some personal questions.
But no fun in the first half.
well,
Well,
we
it's
try to
no
keep
fun,
it
it's just-
detailing specific so we
Zero
can knock
fun.
out the.
We want to
call it
satisfy the very
business.
serious people
Yeah.
who are just no nonsense. They're just like,
You know.
give me the answer, move on. So,
Well, and like
you know.
Morgan's all about getting the black and white done. She likes to be able to handle the work first. She
Yep.
goes, let's get our ducks in a row. Let's get all
Yep.
the questions and answers handled, and then we're gonna let our hair down. It's time to party. So
Yeah, me too.
Which are all
Let my hair
things
down,
we're
too.
not doing right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dylan's already let his hair down.
he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's on the bottom of his
so-
face. I don't know if it can help that.
It would,
Came down.
Speaking of a hairy face, the bearded hunter. Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope everyone is having a great day. How you doing, Hunter? Good to see you.
Hey.
Manny Martinez, when is DA Fine and Coarse new compound selling in the USA? When's
I have
that
no
coming
idea.
out?
Well,
He's got a couple.
There they are.
Got some things.
I get some things soon.
I don't think you'll like that answer, but that's the answer you get.
Eventually.
I like it.
At some point.
Matthew
They're coming.
Gibbs says, good morning, everyone. Fantastic to have you there with Jason. And Dylan, I know the feeling about missing polishing something. I've not done that for 5 months, but need to start on my 86 GTS. Matt is like I said, he has so much knowledge, and I'm sure he'll know just where to start. We have Vigorado Detailing says, question about silver-lined microfiber towels. If we are using them to clean the bathroom and toilet, how should we clean them to reuse them, or is it a one and done? So you can wash those towels. You can actually just, after you're done, you can throw them in the washer, wash them like you would a normal microfiber towel. The yarn is different, right? So you might want to just wash them on their own if you have enough of them to kind of justify doing that. I really, I wouldn't try to mix up your house cleaning towels with your detailing towels if you're kind of finicky about that kind of stuff. So I would just do a load on their own, and if you don't have enough of them to do a whole load, then buy more, Joe. So we have Clement Rain. We have Rain Nary. We're going to call you Clement Rain. Says, I'm French. Don't be
Inclement
nasty.
rain.
No,
Inclement
you're welcome
rain,
here,
yeah.
bud.
Inclement rain.
Oh, we are nice guys. We just don't know how to speak French. Josh
Yeah.
Martinka says, Levi, what's your way to remove tons of road paint from a vehicle?
Oh, that depends though. What kind of road paint? If it's
Yeah.
striping paint. I recommend you don't do it and you pay somebody to do that. I do not like taking that off.
Run
Such
away.
a pain.
sell the
yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Sell the car.
Yeah.
Sell it. Just
Gas can and a
We've done-
match.
Dane
Insurance
will buy
claim.
it.
Versions of that.
Dane is doing a cash for clunkers program.
Oh,
Pick
He
it
is
up,
buying. He is buying
in my
every clunker
driveway.
he can find.
That's how you got that
bud.
truck, huh?
So Josh, depends on what you mean by tons. I've seen cars completely covered in it, and I've literally had customers pull up and I've said, nope, I would maybe go to a body shop, have that all sanded and repainted. And I mean, that's, there's nothing I can do to really get that all off. I've had other people who've had it just on the side. Maybe they just hit a little wet spot, just splattered up the side. In that sense, I like lacquer thinner, I like plastic scrapers, and I like Vaseline. So those are my three.
One of the few times you don't say lacquer thinner, so there's that.
Oh, I said lacquer thinner. I said lacquer
you did?
thinner, plastic
Okay.
scrapers, and Vaseline, Dane.
I'm just so used to you having that
Lacquer
as your
thinner is
default
my-
answer for everything.
It is. That's because
Yeah.
it's
Well, you
the
can
best
tackle
answer for everything.
most household jobs with that combination. I mean,
Yeah.
He
what
treats lacquer
can't?
thinner like it's the Konami code.
That's how
or
I shave my
something.
head.
Yeah.
It was more of like,
So-
what can't you do with Vaseline?
Yeah. Well, the other question was
That should be the
and-
second half.
Yeah,
That's the second half.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So
right.
one of our gals at the rag company today, when Anthony and I were there, putting in work, told me that she had sideswiped one of the vinyl fence posts by her house. So she asked if we could go take care of that. So Dane, I reached for a piping cold bottle of lacquer thinner,
Yes.
some hyper polish,
Piping.
and Anthony and I went to town with some Lowe's waterless wash, wiped it down, lacquer thinnered it, polished it, job done.
Yeah.
I took video of you
Yeah.
working on that Buick. It happened in short order.
Quite quick,
Yeah.
quite easy
Yeah.
to do.
We got a high-end auto detailing Puerto Rico says, hi all from Puerto Rico. While using my RUPES Nano, I can hear a little speed variation while polishing and even at free spinning. Any ideas what this can be?
That's
Well-
the extra variable speed motor at no charge.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's,
okay.
yeah, that's nice. That's a nice deal.
All of our tools have a feedback. They're smart. Not like they're going to do math for you, but they have a feedback in them. And when they sense excessive speed, they de-torque the motor because it doesn't need to deliver as much. If it senses load, it delivers more power. So if you're hearing something, it might just be the motor speed adjusting to whatever the amount of load is. If there's an actual change in the speed that's being delivered, then get in touch with us. We can talk about possibly troubleshooting, but it might be perfectly normal.
It's a
That makes
knock
a lot of
sensor is what it
sense.
is, right?
Yeah.
Just changes timing.
Yeah,
we
it's just
have
adjusting timing.
David Spencer says, I'm a first timer. Well, congrats and thank you for joining us, David Spencer. What's the best polish and sealant for a relatively new PPG base coat, clear coat, matted or red? My 68 Camaro has some very fine swirls to remove and make the paint pop. Passes over to Jason.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't have the bottle to show. You guys have the bottle. There we go.
Oh, it keeps disappearing. What the hell? It's magic. Oh, wait. There it is.
There we go.
So this
Hey.
particular,
Oh,
DA fine polish, it's actually formulated for this specific defect. So if you have car wash scratches and, rotary holograms or swirl marks, then this is the perfect product for that. So you're looking for a fine grade polish, probably a foam pad and a large orbital polisher. That combination would nail that pretty well.
There you go.
Then he had also asked which ceramic coating can be used on cell phone. I'm guessing cell phone screens or cell screens.
Yeah.
Um,
Any kind of coating works, man. You can put I've put just about everything on.
Most of the cell
Fine.
screens anymore are made from Gorilla Glass. You can use a glass coating, like for windshields, or you can use a regular paint coating. They all work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Tony Broden says, can I polish small swirls on a coated car?
Coating dependent.
Yeah.
Some coatings can be
Yeah.
polished, some
Yeah,
cannot.
some cannot.
So you need
Yeah.
to probably
Yeah.
check with the manufacturer of the coating and see if they recommend that you polish it. And even then, you're going to use a very, very mild, very fine approach because you don't want to thin the coating. So
You don't want to remove the coating. Yeah. So we have high end also says glass coating, plastic, or paint coating. I'm guessing that is for his question on the cell screen. I would say you could.
Yep. We
Yeah.
said everything just about.
Probably
Yeah.
just go for it. And then we have high definition paint correction and auto detailing says, hello from high definition team. Jason, how much cut is in the new all-in-one?
Do you mean this all-in-one?
That one.
That's the one.
I've got an
That
entire
one,
product shelf behind me here. I
Shows up
just
perfectly.
So actually, this new product,
I also
Protect.
do, but you can't see it.
Oh, there.
Pulling products from the void.
Yeah.
So
I'm
Uno
just pulling them
Protect,
from Dylan's desk.
the the defect removal power of this product is actually adjustable. So there is no straight simple answer, but you can adjust how many defects this product removes by a number of things. So the first thing is technique. The second thing is what pad you use with it, because you can be more or less aggressive with the pad, and then also the tool. So which tool you use will affect how much defects you remove, but it's totally adjustable, and that's the beauty of a product like this and about this particular product called Uno Protect, because if you want to remove more defects, you apply more pressure, you have a more aggressive pad, and you remove more defects. But you can also go the opposite direction on the scale, and if you have no defects and you just want to lay down some wax, then you would go to an ultrafine foam pad and have a mellow technique, and then you won't remove too many defects. So it's a pretty cool product because it's adjustable.
Morgan can verify her very crappy rental when she was in Denver. We put 3,000 grit sanding scratches on it. The paint was super soft, but we were able to take 3,000 grit out with it and a yellow foam pad, or a yellow wool pad. So
I remember that. I was there.
that was an exceptionally crappy rental car. I'm just going to throw it out
It
there.
was.
We have Riley S. says, what other companies besides Esoteric have created custom towels?
Well, Riley, we have a long list of customers that we've created towels for, but I'm not at liberty to tell you about all the companies that have. I can tell you about Esoteric primarily because not only do they carry rag company towels,
They mention as much.
They literally mention that, hey, we have these made by rag company. So any of the companies that we have other companies that have just recently started that we've done custom label for them, and they've literally said, I can't deny it anymore. Customers are calling and asking, and they're asking if we get our towels from you guys. So basically the companies that are now actually stating that they're selling rag company, for years they were a custom label company. So, but yeah. Matt Gibb, my one and only question, a RUPES Cinque Cento, aka 500 watt mini melee forced rotation polisher with random mode like the Rotex hybrid may cover the needs for it, but I dig forced. Have a great show, guys.
I think he's mentioned that before. He's been asking for a while. It's definitely in the list of requests. Whether or not it'll happen, I can either confirm, deny, or even mention that we've worked on it, not worked on it.
We interviewed
Staying as
Matt,
vague as possible.
Yeah, we interviewed Matt last Friday, was it, or so? And we had an amazing conversation. So we did a podcast with him, and I've known Matt for almost a decade, and he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of ideas in his head. So
it's not a bad idea.
Guy.
It just
we can neither confirm.
I'm not on the engineering team.
Yeah. Adam Blackwell, yay! First IDA webinar, and now TRC Q and question and abuse Dane with two awesome guests. Happy Thursday,
Poor Dane.
Question and abuse Dane.
Q&A Dane.
That's funny.
So funny, Adam.
We have
you could have stayed up late last night, and then you would have the trifecta. So just saying, done the color lock.
We have Rupa's yellow pads become softer and softer with time. When you know it is time to when do you know it's time to replace them?
Well, let's define time during the job. If they're getting softer and softer with time, then you're overtaxing them. They're getting overheated because heat softens foam. And if your pad is getting soft, it's time to swap to a new pad or stop pressing so hard. If you mean over time, as in every time you wash it, it's a little bit softer, or every time you use it, I don't think that should be the case. I've not experienced that myself. So
I think he probably means while on the job, because like you said, you're right. When you overuse a pad, it tends to get pretty warm. It tends to get extremely soft, and there's a certain point to where you'll notice kind of the cut begins to kind of diminish. And you should swap out to a secondary or even a third pad and kind of cycle between them in between cleaning.
Yeah.
You should never be using a pad continuously for large sections of a vehicle. You should always be rotating pads to keep your heat load managed.
Yep. Ryan Ellinger says, I have CSL.
Hold up. Dylan Von Kleist said something pretty horrific. It says message retracted.
Yeah, I did.
Man.
Very Sorry. Not cool.
Well, then I posted again right below it. So.
Oh, okay, good. All
right. So Ryan Ellinger says, I have CSL topped with EXO on my car. I top with Bead Maker. I use the FTW orange towel just like Matt, and I have found it leaves a haze. Have any suggestions to help with that?
Yeah, Ryan, you're using too much product.
Yeah,
you need another towel. So 2 towels, 3 towels. What's happening is that towel is getting too wet and it's not fully, you're not being able to wipe the surface dry with the Bead Maker. So that's
especially if you're doing like a full-on Bead Maker application and you're doing kind of like the soaking method, you will tend to get some more streaks and some more haze. But I think if you kind of tackle maybe a spritz on the towel, spritz on the paint, and knock out a small section at a time and maybe have a towel over your shoulder just to kind of knock it down between each wipe, I think it'll remove that pretty well. So we got Stackanolly says, have they found Carol Baskin's husband yet? No, she killed him, and there's no denying that. So Bradley Ford says, local Boise guy, first timer. Welcome, Bradley. He says, can I polish compound over vinyl 4x4 sticker on my F-150 or just tape it off? Thanks, guys.
Depends on the quality of the vinyl sticker. If it's a brand new one, really in good shape, yeah, you could polish right over it. You are going to get some polish and compound on the edges of it. So you are going to have to do some toothpickery and some brushing or some, I really like O&R on a towel to wipe all that stuff off. But yeah. Otherwise, if you want to tape it off, you could, but there's a possibility that your tape will pull the sticker too. So when you're peeling it off, you're still going to get the same thing because you're still going to get the vinyl or the sticky adhesive is still going to grab all the compound and polish as you go over it. So
yeah, actually, I learned this a few years ago that late model cars with vinyl, stripes or stickers, that material actually has a clear coat over it.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So you can
it's
just
like the vinyl on my Suburban. It's all clear coated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's got an overlayment. So
that's fantastic. High-end auto detailing says Dylan and Jason explain on Obsessed Garage video the proper way to clay bar in terms of over lubricating the surface and the resistance that can be felt. Can you elaborate? I mean, they say to don't over lubricate the surface.
Yeah, I think I was the one that actually said that on that video, if I remember right. But yeah, there is such a thing as over lubricating for clay bar. You have too much lube, and the clay or clay mitt or whatever you're using can't make proper contact. So there's not an exact science to it. It's really, you want just enough lubrication to allow whatever you're using to slide over the surface. So if it's sticking or leaving, streaks of clay behind, you don't have enough. If it's really, really effortless, it's too much. So the best way to do it is start with a small amount, and if it does stick, add a small amount more and keep going. But I see too many guys just oversaturate. They're claying while the car is wet. They use tons of soap, and then they're just going really fast, and they think because and it is doing a little something, but you're not really getting effective decontamination if you're over lubricated. So,
and I would add that
yeah, you should be able to hear it. That's another piece. Yeah, it should have a sound.
Yeah, I would add that the amount of lubricant that you dispense is actually a variable because the amount of contaminants will impact this. Also, your environment. If things are drying out, if you're in a hot, dry climate, things will dry faster. So really, it's a variable. It's something that the user really should adjust, car by car.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All right, so we have Jeepers 1378 says, Ryan, did you wash the FTWs first? I found that they work better after a couple washes. You are correct, Jeeper. They will soften up and tend to absorb a little more after the first wash or two. Richard Wakefield says, what are your favorite 16-ish ounce spray bottles for dilution? I've heard you like the Lowe's bottles a lot. They're really good bottles.
We do. So
we
actually... fun fact, we took a brand new Wowo's bottle, an empty labelless one, because when we were putting together our lift in the new studio, I went and bought a funnel and I hadn't looked. I just saw the box that we were putting the hydraulic fluid in, and just went and bought a funnel, because that's what they had at AutoZone. And I probably should have gotten a nice long neck one that came up and did all that stuff, but I didn't.
Oh,
So we
you just
needed to
got the
create-
funnel.
I just got a funnel. So we needed
Oh.
to create a sister, basically, by making a smaller version that could fit in that tight space. And so we used a Wowo's bottle, and Anthony goes, I'm just going to cut this bottle. I handed Anthony my knife. Anthony, what did you find out?
I found out that those bottles are really hard to cut. Literally, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm talking like it took me forever to get a brand new razor blade through the actual bottle itself, and then I couldn't cut it with just by holding my hand. So I had to actually lodge it in our vise and then start cutting around it. But when I looked at the actual like plastic material, the way that bottle is molded, like, you know, it can bend in, it's very, you know, it's malleable
Still
to a certain
flexible.
extent. It's still flexible, but to actually break one of those bottles and to cut through it, I did not know how strong those were until I started doing it. So I would say that those 16-ounce bottles are probably some of the best I've ever used. I really like the sprayers as well, but next to that, I would say a traditional, 16-ounce 500 ml bottle or close to it with like a Tolko sprayer is really nice as well. I think it just feels good in the hands.
I just like a big 32-ounce bottle with a Tolko. It just works for everything.
Just because yours is
Oh,
bigger
very nice.
doesn't mean it works better.
Well,
But
it's
as I say,
what
if
they
you can
say.
help it, you don't use a trigger sprayer
You
at
know?
all. I mean,
Yeah, I like to just use large vessels with a thumb sprayer. Like an IK.
Okay, we have Hennen says Hein's got a lot of questions. I'm happy to see these.
no, it's great.
It says Dylan and Jason,
Hector.
have you tried the Millet yellow pad on a RUPES 21 or 15 millimeter? If so, what's your experience? It's a no or a choice to consider.
Rosie?
I would say it's a choice to consider because there are definite user preferences for what we call low profile pads. So the thinner pads, there are people that generally prefer that kind of version of a pad. Now it was intended for the Miele gear driven orbital, but it can work fine on the random orbitals as well.
Good to know. Cool.
And
Hans says
yep.
303
Nope,
has a.
Oh, sorry,
No,
I
is it-
skipped. Oh, well, no, it's
No,
the same
you're
question.
fine. Yeah. So
No,
anyway,
sorry. Yeah.
so we'll just go through them. Hans says 303 is a great fabric sealant. You're right. Richard Wakefield, as far as fabric sealants, I've heard OptiGuard fabric is pretty good, and I want to try it for myself. I have that on my wife's car. And then back to Hector in Puerto Rico. Cutting power versus finishing abilities of the Miele with blue or yellow RUPES wool pad versus the 21 to 15 with the McGuire's microfiber cutting pad.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in that question.
That sounds way more fun.
So break that one down for us.
Cutting power versus finishing ability of the Miele with the blue or yellow RUPES wool versus the 21 or 15 with the McGuire's microfiber cutting pad. So I'm a little confused, Hector, when you say like, are you trying to cut with the Miele and the blue or yellow RUPES wool, and then the 21 to 15 with the McGuire's microfiber pad. So cutting power
Versus
those-
finishing ability. That's a
There's a
Like,
lot
oh,
of
my-
variables.
Yeah, there's too many variables. You got different machines and different materials. My suggestion would be try the wool pads on the 15 or the 21 instead of the McGuire's pad and be amazed.
Okay. We have Jeepers 1378 says never got to my gauntlet suggestion. Haha. Anyhow,
Oh, we did. You wrote
They
gauntlet
steamrolled
16
after
by
I read it.
16. Yeah.
okay.
So gauntlet 16 by 16 is what he asked.
Mhm.
Yes, we know a lot of people are asking for that. Stay tuned. We may have something up our sleeve. So
He says he bought a pack of new eaglets. Perfect
Nice.
for leaving the car, quick detailing. Never liked having to wash a towel with a small section used. Fantastic idea. Yeah, the
Nice.
eaglets are surprisingly handy, and I'll admit that Some of us were kind of haters to the idea when Jeff
Well,
kinda,
Jeff's been trying to push that on us for almost 5 years.
Years.
And we were like, what are you gonna do with that small of a towel? And then after God forbid, well, not God forbid, but I mean, after I said that, I was like, well, let's start trying these things, and we started using them for different random tasks. And they're probably my favorite thing to put in my motorcycle jacket for cleaning off my helmet after I get bugs hitting my visor and all of that, and as well as kind of cleaning up the bike a little bit of like a quick detail or like a waterless wash in my pocket. So
what are the? I don't even know you guys had these. What are the dimensions on these little tiny things?
8
They
by
are very
8 by 8 eaglets.
That's a
Yeah,
brilliant
Eagle
idea.
500.
Same
So we have
material,
Eagle
just a lot
500s
smaller.
and
Yeah.
Eagle 350s.
and you can get
And-
a 10-pack for under
Yep.
$15, which is crazy.
I don't care what they say
So-
about you guys. You're pretty smart.
Oh,
I mean,
Well,
I
actually,
would never
like
say
I
anything
said,
negative about you.
I say
we'll
a
give
lot
that
of
to-
things.
We'll give that to Jeff. Hats off to Jeff for the idea. And
That's all.
another
him.
area
He
you
was
can
pushing
use
it.
those
Yep.
is your gauge cluster, right? So your plastic
Mhm.
face gauge cluster that scratches by looking at it, you can use those on there for a very delicate clean for light dusting and cleaning. And I've found that those leave the least amount of marring in the surface compared to other traditional towels. So just something super handy to have for interiors, as well as piano black plastic on your interior. We are going down here. David Olson said something inappropriate. And then High-End Auto Detailing says, with the RUPES 2115 millimeter with microfiber cutting pads, I found that too low of a speed tend to mat down the fibers more than a little higher speed and less pressure. Why one you prefer?
Which one
Which
do you
one?
prefer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just reading what he said. So yeah, probably which one would you prefer?
So tell me that one again.
Too low of
So-
speed tends to mat down the
Mat.
fibers than a higher speed with less pressure. Which one do you prefer? So microfiber on 15 or 21, he's saying low speed tends to mat the fibers and high speed with less pressure doesn't. I think we should, I'll let you talk about it. You clarify why fiber matting doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah,
so.
Actually what he's describing makes sense, and it's actually predictable with microfiber. So what he's observing is not, I would suggest it's not a problem. So a lot of people that use microfiber pads, they believe that when the fibers mat down, that is a problem and that it should be fixed. Now, the reality is that with these types of fibers, it's very, very tiny diameter fiber, but there's many, there's lots of them. And if you think about surface area, what has more surface contact to the paint? Fibers that are straight up and down or ones that are laying down? So the fibers that are laying down actually have more surface area. So matted down fibers with microfiber is actually a boost in performance. So it's not a problem, it actually works better. Now, where it does become a problem is if you load those fibers too much with paint residue and compound residue, and they do what we call starting to glaze over. So when that matted down stuff looks all pasty and shiny, then that means you've loaded that pad too much and you need to clean it. And here's another misconception about that. When we clean microfiber, some people think you need to fluff it up.
Mhm.
But no, you need to remove paint residue. That's the main thing. And but matted down fibers is not a problem. Now, his question about with pressure, without, that totally depends on the objectives of what you're trying to do and the defects, the severity of the defects. So pressure and speed, those are variables that you adjust, based on what you're doing. But I wouldn't look for matted down fibers as a problem. I would say that's okay.
Wash your pads, people. And your
There
hands.
you go. Yeah. Brian Rivard, hello everyone. What is the
Hi, Brian.
best way to remove PPF? It's only a year old and there's glue left behind. What's the best way to remove that?
Sell the car.
Lacquer thinner?
Steam to get the film off in the first
Brutal.
place. Steam is a huge help to get the film off, and the glue, lacquer thinner. 3M makes a very nice aerosol spray
do.
adhesive remover.
Yeah.
That's a very nice one.
Can't get it in the state of
Yeah.
California, but you can get it other places.
Yeah, I used to love that for removing trim, especially when you had a lot to do or lots of stuff to do, especially PPF.
How about a heat
makes it
gun? Have you
fast.
guys tried it with a heat gun?
Yeah.
You need
Yeah,
a
we
heat gun.
use the heat
Steam is
gun.
effective though because it's a little bit more. You get liquid behind it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the key, if you are removing it, you pull up?
no, you pull parallel to the surface because you pull
Parallel
up,
to
you
the
break the
surface,
glue
right.
from
If
the
you pull
laminate.
up,
So
you break it.
Yep. So you pull
So,
with
yeah.
the direction of the panel as much as you can.
Yep. Yeah. And you go slow and it'll pull itself. Pretty nice. Sir said something inappropriate. Mark Krause, do you guys or anyone you know have a wash mop that fits inside a 5-gallon bucket to rub against the grit guard cover? Do you guys or anyone you know have a wash mop? No. So we don't have a wash mop. I know that our friends at Auto Fiber do have a wash mop that they've built. I think it's about that size that you can get in there and fit in
Ian's
the
got
bucket.
that thing called the Mitt on a stick, I believe.
It's like
he
it's a Mitt
does.
on a stick is what he calls
It's like
it.
a chenille
And,
Mitt, but it's less
stick.
wide than a standard microfiber mop will be.
I don't even think it's a chenille. I think it's microfiber. It's like his wash.
Well, I mean, it is microfiber, but
it's
Buff
not the
and Shine.
chenille.
Buff and Shine
Yeah.
has one as well
Yep. Yeah. So
that fits down in the bucket.
okay, yeah.
So check out those two companies and see what you can find from them. Hippolito Campos, hey, question for each one. Consult you wash your cars yourself? Oh, do you guys wash your cars yourself or do you take it to a car wash? I do both for fun. I wash most of my cars in my driveway and I take some of my cars through the car wash just because I can.
I have Jason
If we
wash
were to
mine.
do like a percentage breakdown of what everybody does, I'm going to look real bad here, but everybody go around the horn. What's your percentage of you versus a machine?
80 me, 20 machine. Here we go. Morgan.
I haven't been to a car wash for probably 5 years.
There you go.
Unless you count, if you count coin washes, then I go to coin washes. But I have not been to a drive-through car wash for probably 5 or 6 years.
There we go. Okay, Dylan.
I'm like Morgan. I have not. Well, I can't say I've never gone through a coin-op car wash. I would say almost 10 years, but I have, but only to try and purposely screw things up, like test coating or sealant durability, or
for trainings and stuff,
or put scratches into something that I need to polish on. Otherwise, when I pull into the facility at Rupa's, I just toss my keys to Jason and I have him wash it.
Yeah, Dylan has slaves. He has slaves for this.
Let me know when it's ready, and then he does one of these, waves the towel over his head.
Yeah.
And then where's my tip?
Yep. Slip him a couple bucks, and out I go.
Yeah, no, I haven't gone to automated car washes in a long time because Dylan and I, we built our own personal car wash at the academy, so
it's hard not to leave that alone after a while. Yeah.
Now I do probably 5-10% of the time I'll use a coin op, but it's mostly after a Jeep run. I've been on on the mountain, and I come off the mountain or come out of the desert, and even before I drive home, I want to get the chunks off. So I'll go buy a coin op, but I can't remember last time I went through an automatic. Yeah.
I will say I really like our friends at Auto Wash in Colorado. They have some very nice touchless car washes.
They do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anthony.
I know Anthony pretty much.
Last time that I went through an automated car wash, I was with Levi.
It was like 2 weeks ago. We took the Suburban through it.
And I even told him, I'm like, man, I haven't been through one of these in I don't know, since I was a kid. And because I went through, I made the mistake as I think it was a 16-year-old kid, where you have all your friends saying, oh, I went through this Metro car wash, it's so nice, it's so cool, you should take your car through there, mine looks better than ever, right? And I'm sitting here like, well, I like washing my car by myself, but if you say that this wax or whatever they put on this car is pretty good, then I'll go through it, right? So I went through I paid the highest I was, it was like $22 or whatever it was.
When you had a black car, right?
Some
With the
service
hot
they
wax.
offered, and it was a little black Honda Civic, and I was super excited. And first thing that happens is we start going through. They didn't put my antenna down, so my antenna snapped off. So I lost that right during the wash. I even saw it. I was like, oh crap, right? So that happened. And then my car happened to be lowered at that time. And so the rail system that you go in, it was actually quite high. So it ended up putting 2 gashes in my front lip of my car. And then by the time I got out of there, I went over to the vacuum area and I was looking at the roof, and I noticed that my roof looked like it had been blasted with basically whatever they did on that wash. It took whatever filler or whatever glaze or whatever the hell I had on that roof off of what it was, and completely matted down the finish on my roof, exposing some pretty hideous clear coat failure. And that was it. And that was when I said, okay, well, I'm never doing that again, ever. I'm never ever doing this again. So I guess now that was 14 years ago. So
yeah, when you have to gather your car parts after you go through the car wash, that's usually a problem.
I'll be taking those now.
Oh,
They
well,
hand you that little TSA like tray.
Well, and then you go and tell your friends as a 16-year-old kid, and you're like, hey, dude, that car wash that you recommended, that broke my car. It broke all these pieces. And then they look at you and they say, well, you should have just bought a less crappy car. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's the car's fault.
You're not wrong, but yes, it sucks. So
look at you now, huh? You're washing your
Yeah.
own cars. You're not buying crappy cars anymore. So proud of you.
Well, learn.
No, well, I can't say that, Dylan. I mean, one of the cars is still questionable, but whatever.
Hey, no, you didn't buy a
but
Montero.
I
Yeah,
did.
I
used to remember. I wrote. This is something I did at the car wash back in the day. Jason, you're gonna love this. So I would wax a car for a customer. Right? They'd pay for their $30 hand wax at the full service car wash, and we put that on there with the big orbital
Steering wheel.
Yep, and we'd wax the finish. And we wipe it off, and the car was full of dust from all the wax dust that was coming off the terry cloth towels we were using to wipe it all off. So I had this great idea. Just run it through the car wash. Pop it out on the other end, dry it off. It's gonna be perfect. And let's just say that first time I did that, the customer, I was like, all right, sir, it's ready to go. And he was like, why'd you just run it through the car wash? You ran it through twice. Like, you just stripped all the wax off. And I said, no, I didn't. It doesn't strip wax, it washes. And he's like, no, it does not. I need you to go back there and re-wax that car for me. And I was like, I was standing there. I was 16 years old, and I was like, what?
Huh?
What? And my boss came out, and he was so mad. And he's like, you're just starting out. I'm just going to tell you, there's some very high pH soaps in there that you basically stripped everything you did right then and there. And let me tell you, that first arch, the reason your voice went away the other day is that first arch, we foam hydrofluoric acid on a vehicle. It's the first thing we do. It's a touchless wash, and that's why we do that. And I was like, oh. Okay.
If it can't touch it, it has to break it down some other way. So
yep.
It's not mechanical, it's got to be chemical.
Yep. And so I was basically I stripped a car, right after I waxed it just for fun. But no, it was, yeah. So I would, it was a very big learning experience at that age.
Everybody starts as a rookie somewhere.
Yep, exactly. And fortunately, that was the car wash I took Anthony through the other day.
Yeah.
So
it was
great time to revive it. I was showing him, this is where this was, this is where this was, this is where we had this here.
Did you ask him to hook up some of the old acids for you so you could trip down memory lane?
Relive.
Yeah, give me that spray, that acid spray.
Give me the nasty stuff. I want the stuff that'll kill you.
I need it in the air. I need to breathe it. I need deep breath.
Was telling me all about the old good times where he's like, it's a summer day. You got girls coming in here, bringing in their cute little cars. He's like, you're out there washing, hanging out with all your friends, then you go down the
Oh,
street to
best job.
Merritt's and have yourself a scone. You know, life was good.
Yeah, you lose your voice because of all the acid being blown in the air.
Yeah, inhale a little atomized acid, burn your lungs. You know, good old days.
Not cool.
Well,
Not cool.
as I got older, by the time I was 19, we made it a joke that we would, like, a new person, we'd make them work prepping cars so that they could lose their voice and see how long it took them to lose their voice from breathing in all the acid that was in the air.
Oh,
We thought that was a fun thing. We're like, that's
What
so
a great
funny.
thing.
They lost their voice.
That's
Oh,
rough.
The
man.
hydrofluoric
What an
acid.
idiot.
Just go to a concert like a normal person. Okay. All right.
Yeah, get the
We
acid
gotta
at
keep
the
moving
concert.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
acid.
Get your acids at the
Yep.
concert, not at the
Yeah.
car wash.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
So Hans was up
Hans.
this morning, first thing in the morning, and he was working on floor plans while he was
Ooh.
doing when I was on with the Color Lock boys. So Hans has spent the entire day currently busy with shop design. What would be the ideal wall, floor, and ceiling colors be? Well, Hans, the normal traditional shop colors, gray on the bottom, white on the top with a red stripe. That's what the MOSHQ looked like. It's like the old Texaco service stations back in the day had that style. A lot of detailers have that. But you could do something different, like what they did at the Bigfoot Training Center, where you guys did the walls black, the matte black, which is what we also did in our new studio. So
Paint inspection purposes, matte black ceiling, matte black walls, and medium gray floors is your best combination. That will allow you to see the most defects.
Yes.
If you want to look cool and have stripes and stuff, that's fine. You're just not going to be able to see all the defects as easily.
Yep.
And also, one of my pet peeves is the guys that do those race deck floors with a lot of texture on the floor. That's the worst thing to find defects on the side of the car, you know, while you're polishing the side of a car, because now your eyes have to compete with all that texture to find paint defects, you know, in the reflection. So it looks cool in pictures, but it's from a technical perspective, it's the opposite of what you want for paint correction.
And Dane and I had that discussion because I said why we were designing the floor for our new studio space with all Swiss Trax flooring, and we had built a couple different patterns and designs in the floor. One for dramatic effect, and Dane's coming at it from that camera ready look. And how can we make this look the most dramatic? And I said, let's try, and if you can make this section a little more muted and a little more just basic, that would help a lot, because otherwise we painted those walls black for nothing.
Yeah.
And once Dane understood,
I was
he's
going
like,
way out there with it too. I was doing like drop shadows on shapes, and we ended up with a design that's more muted, but it's still kind of out there. So I think people will like it. It's weird.
Ultra fine
cool.
herringbone pattern with contrasting colors. You know,
he was,
really give people a headache.
Dane was,
It's
Dane
like
was
looking at
going
tweed
for
with
it.
a magnifying glass. You know, just
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
get right up in there.
Yeah, Dane. Now he came up with some pretty wicked ideas, and they were really awesome. But it was one of those where I was like, I'm good with everything else. Just right here in this section, can we not do that? That's
Not
all
here.
I'm asking. Yeah, just not right here, because that doesn't help
Credit
me,
to Nick
so.
though. He took my design and like muted it a little bit and came up with a really good compromise. So
Yeah.
that came out pretty cool in the end.
That's a good question,
So-
though, from whoever asked that.
Well, it is
Hans.
because a lot of guys, our white studio is really cool, and you look at it and you're like, oh man, and we have so many detailers that walk in and go like, this would be heaven, this would be amazing to work in, but we have to keep it clean, and it is an absolute nightmare when we get a dirty car in there, or we're working or we're washing or whatever.
Well, and then if you're in there long enough, you start to kind of lose it. I mean, like you start
that's the
seeing
biggest thing.
like relatives that have passed
literally.
away and stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
why am I seeing these ghosts in this white room? Like, what's happening here? It's very strange. We have RAF here that says, is there a yearly, semi-yearly application or refresher for a vehicle coated with CSL plus XO? Wow, that is a great question.
I would say C2V3.
It's called C2V3, baby. That's it. That's the product that they say is going to be your best topper for that. Luis, or actually Rec Panhandle, said something extremely inappropriate. Wow. We're going to have
man,
to kick him out.
Hey, are we going to read
Hey.
these inappropriate ones in the fun half?
Most likely, yes. Tim,
Sometimes,
we're
yeah.
going to need you to kick Rec Panhandle out. Luis Vasquez says, what's your go-to procedure for tackling the worst water stains on black GMC paint?
Ooh.
Dun, dun,
Ooh.
dun.
Go-to procedure for tackling the worst water stain. Well,
Depends
first you want to
on-
minerally, you need to get the mineral spots out. Make
Yeah, I
sure
mean, it's-
those are gone.
Procedure from top to bottom is you gotta, because you don't know what they are when you start, right? You need to wash to see if they come out in the washing, then mechanical decontamination, aka clay or clay mitt, to see if they come off with that. And if they don't, then you're dealing with etching, not water spots. Then polishing becomes the likely scenario there. If that doesn't work, then you need to try sanding, and then you get those really weird situations where they disappear and come back all the time. Then you've got a very interesting reality where you're talking about using an IR lamp to heat cycle the paint, and that's far more deep than I think we should possibly ever get on a live stream on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. But that's it in a nutshell. Ryan Rigdon, hey guys, first thank you very much for providing us comforting voices at this time. Question: when do you use waffle versus foam or flat foam pads? Ryan, that is a kind of a personal preference for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
It also depends on the tool that you're using. Flat foams I really like on short throw polishers. They work a little better because they don't, if a flat foam gets too much heat in it, it tends to cake in the middle because it starts to break down with the heat. And the waffle is designed to produce heat buildup. Some people love it, some people don't. That's also why the CCS pad from Lake Country has the little dimples in it, is to kind of help cycle that heat out of a flat foam. So, but Jason knows a lot more than I do about that stuff.
Well, one thing we've determined on the technical side of a flat pad versus a textured pad in any way, whether it's waffle or diamonds or whatever patterns we're putting in there, it's a simple matter of surface area. So the flatter the pad, the more surface contact there is to the paint. So I've kind of proved it to myself and others that, a flat pad would always perform better in terms of defect removal and finishing. However, if you take performance and kind of split it out a little bit and look at the actual polishing performance compared to the user experience, and I think, Levi, that's what you spoke to earlier. The user experience is all about the user preferences, and there are people who actually really prefer the lower pad drag, the lower friction, the smoothness of a textured pad or a waffle pad, because that's what you get with that pad is you have less contact and it's actually running smoother. So if you like that smoothness, then that's the kind of pad you want. But
waffle pad is somewhat born out of rotary because it reduces that drag and it makes the rotary easier to manage, less push because it has less traction. So there's a misconception. Some people seem to think also that patterns and things increase cut. Oh, there's texture, so it gives me more bite. And
as if that soft contour is really going to be grabbing and pulling.
Well,
like that.
There's some people in the detailing community that are nice but not very smart. But it's just it goes back to just what do you prefer? I mean, and at the end of the day, all things being equal, if you are you aiming for comfort, go with something with some texture, reduce it. If you're aiming for just all out performance, a flat pad is always going to outperform a waffle or any pattern pad. It's quantifiable, it's measurable, it's provable. A flat pad will, the same material, everything else, a flat pad will beat a textured pad every time.
Yeah, I like the waffle pads, but I'll just share just a quick thing that I had the other day. So waffle pads, right? You really want to be careful on those, specifically even with ours. I'll just say it with ours because they have that breathable backing on them. That breathable backing is not as strong as the flat pad backing, right? And you want to be extremely, and especially on a RUPES, because I'll tell you what happened. I had a brand new waffle pad, and I had my friend using it on one side. I was on that car using the other side, and he started using it. And without telling him, I forgot to tell him, hey, don't go and put that into the pad washer. because that's going to soak that backing, right? And
Mm.
so what ended up happening is put the pad back onto the backing plate. You know, it was slightly damp, turned on the machine, and the pad just straight up blew off, and the backing plate almost went into the paint. So with those waffle pads, you can wash them, you can get them wet, but they need to fully dry on that breathable backing plate before putting them back onto the plate.
And it's also a different hook and loop.
It
So
is.
hooks,
I have noticed
the
that.
The hooks on the RUPES backing plate don't work with that. Once, you know, our Lake Country waffles, it's just that backing plate, and it's just because of the hook pattern that they're just not. It's like Velcro. It is Velcro. They're just not designed. They work, but they don't provide the actual proper bite strength that you would get if you used a RUPES pad.
But that's not a backing plate problem. That's the loop material on the pad problem.
It's because but it's true, because if you're using a RUPES pad and a RUPES backing plate, those two pieces are designed to attach to each other.
Yeah.
So that Velcro is that hook and loop is the proper spec, so to speak, where the Lake Country one will work with a Lake Country backing plate that is designed for a rotary or a short throw DA, but they don't make a, you know, because RUPES has a patent on their backing plate and their design. So that's so that in case you guys were wondering, it works just fine if you're using it on a different machine. So
Interesting question though. That was another good one.
Let's see here. With Uno Protect being pad dependent, is there a machine pad combo that stands out more than others?
Pad dependent?
Cutting. You change the pad, compound and can do different pads, but which machine do we prefer with it is the question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I heard that wrong. It was what I heard was that there's only one pad that works with it.
No. My personal preference, 15, like it is with everything else. I like the 15. That's my personal preference, but it also depends on what I'm working on. So,
and what pad would you use with the Uno?
My personal favorite experience is always with the yellow wool, because it's like just kind of shocking how well it cuts and finishes. But if it's a light cleanup or just a quick application type, you know, just going for gloss and go, the yellow foam.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. What he said.
All right.
Nice. Says, do you recommend the RUPES rotary for a beginner?
I don't recommend any rotary for a beginner.
Honestly, though, if I had to choose a rotary to start with, I wish I would have started with a RUPES. I used a DeWalt. I used a Makita. I used a Milwaukee. I've used a lot of rotaries that were heavy. The old ones were my old Milwaukee was very heavy. I find that for me, if I compare it to the Makita that I used for years, the DeWalt that I used for years, compared to the new RUPES rotary, that thing is gorgeous and sweet, and I just love that machine. So it is arguably one of the best, if not the best, if you are going to be starting out. But it's hard to say when you're starting out with a rotary.
Rotary is a hard thing for, I guess it's the definition of beginner with rotary or beginner polishing. If it's your first time polishing anything, no rotary is going to be a good tool for you. But if you've done some orbital polishing, you're going to have a much easier transition to rotary if you grab the LH19 than if you were to grab a big heavy rotary, because of one, form factor, weight, RPM, all the things that you're more accustomed to with a orbital polisher are going to be at least as present as they can be in our rotary versus a big heavy rotary.
Yep, there you go. Loma Sticas for Dylan. You helped me in the past to fix my RUPES polisher. Since the repair shop is closed, my RUPES LHR 15 ES, I turn it on and move the polisher and it turns off no matter the speed. Any ideas? I bought new brushes and that didn't work. Thank you in advance. And hello.
Anything over a live chat, but if you've changed brushes and you still have an intermittent speed issue, check your cord connections. Check your cord period. Especially if you're one of those people that likes to do the tight winding, You may have stressed the copper inside the cord. Check the stress relief little rubber boot. Make sure your wires are connected to the terminals correctly in there. But if it's turning off, it's a power issue. So you've isolated it. It's not brushes. So check the cord next would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I used to have a guy who would call me when he bought a RUPES and he had replaced the cord. And what he would do is every 3 months, he would cut like 3 or 4 inches off the cord and restring it, and just his power cord kept getting shorter and shorter. But every 6 months, he'd have that same issue. And it was like, well, that's because you broke all the, like, you've already compromised the cord.
Yep.
And you keep compromising the burn, basically, or the damage going down. So you're shortening the lifespan of that cord as it keeps going. So especially if you're going to swap out a cord, swap out the whole cord. It's not that big of a.
And I should say, even though the repair shop has to be closed because of COVID-19, you can still order parts. So Lomas, if you need a new cord, just go to the website, go to the part support page, order a cord, and we will ship that to you. That we can still do.
Yep, there you go. Kia Possessor, the Possessor of Kias. The FTW towels need more colors. Yeah, okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We will see what we can do. That means you like them. So that's nice. Joe at Vigor says, hey, Jason, I remember when we were at the Serum Summit, you asked a question. Why am I the only one polishing? Do you see this often at your trainings? Love the time we had together. Thank you. It was Joe Wetzel, Vigor Auto Detailing.
Oh, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, it was a weird thing at Serum Summit because a rare occurrence happened that, just dumped snow in Atlanta, Georgia.
Snow in Atlanta.
Yeah, so
I
was
love
very
that.
strange.
That was the weirdest. It was the weirdest, funnest thing that ever happened there. Yeah, that was awesome.
That was the kickoff to 2020. Like, this being a weird year, that was the kickoff.
Yeah, that was the first clue.
Yeah, this year's dumpster fire.
Well, my favorite was when we actually got to leave and we actually left, and we had Jason, you were behind us, following us in your Mustang, and we were looking at all those cars as we were driving back to the cabin.
It's like zombie apocalypse.
Yeah,
like with caution tape, and some of them were 4-wheel drives that they like parked them because they didn't know how to put them in 4-wheel drive or something.
And they're all cattywampus. They're sideways and on the curb, and it was crazy.
Yeah, we were in a minivan, and that's what happens when you get some mountain kids on the roads there. We were able to power our way through, no problem, like we were driving on the freeway. It was easy. High-end auto detailing, Hector back at it with my question about the RUPES yellow pads. I mean, over time, like months later, I have 12 of each that I rotate polishing, but the older ones are clearly softer than the newer ones. So, man, Hector, if you're running through pads and you've only got 12 that you're, like, how long are you holding on to them? That's my question. How many cars is each pad doing?
Yeah. Well, there's also the variable of, and we don't know what compound he's using. He's using something heavy on solvents, that you could be breaking the pads down that way. Heat cycling them over and over again. Yeah, that will definitely, if you overheat them and let them cool and overheat them and let them cool, that's still the same issue that's present in a long cycle. You're still softening the foam. So it's hard to know without seeing your exact process. You can always email us. We can get some pictures from you and kind of maybe help troubleshoot it. But they shouldn't be softer. The only way to know a pad is breaking down is when it's kind of starting to get frayed and doesn't hold its shape anymore. But that should be quite a ways down the line. If you're,
I would add that another thing that impacts what he's describing is the cleaning methods. So repeated cleaning, and there are certain chemicals that will affect. It's called a compression set. It's a technical specification of the foam, but it's the cycling of hot and cold, and it's maintaining its stiffness over those cycles. So some chemicals will affect the compression set. It will make it go so softer over time.
Yep.
Sydney
talking
Gwynn.
about degreaser.
Hey, Sydney.
I've been using Uno for a while, and I love it. What does wiping with a paint prep after do to any sealant within the product? And is it okay to layer it over the product with something like crystal sealant, Wowo's crystal sealant, or bead maker? So she's using Uno Protect, then she's wiping the car down with paint prep. Does it do anything to the sealant within the product in Uno Protect? And is it okay to put another paint sealant like Crystal Sealant or Bead Maker over the top of the Uno Protect sealant that's in there?
Yes and yes.
There you go.
I think
Yeah,
you
it's
know
probably doing something to the sealant.
Yeah, you're pulling solids off when you use that kind of chemical. You're actually pulling some solids. Now this particular product has a blend of protectants. So there's natural carnauba wax solids in that product, and then there's also a cross-linking polymer. So when you use and I'm assuming what they mean by paint prep is a solvent, or is it alcohol?
Well, it depends. I mean, it could
Like
be any. There's
it
tons of
depends,
paint prep products out there. They could
My
be
guess is
alcohol-based, solvent-based.
she's using PNS paint coating and surface prep, and that is a alcohol base.
So yeah, that'll strip some solid waxes off, especially if it's a fresh application of Uno Protect, because Uno Protect likes at least 4 hours of curing time. But you're removing some solids when you do that. And then the second question was, can you top it with a polymer sealant type product? And the answer is yes.
My question would be though, why bother doing the paint prep wipe? If you're just going to be putting another sealant on top, I would probably recommend maybe do the Uno, give it a proper setup time, and then stack it with something else. You can definitely do that, and then you haven't gone backwards in any direction.
Right.
Like, there's not any argument really can be made that the paint prep is helping you there, because you're not applying a coating. You're not, unless you're checking for defects and drop back. But that product really, that's not the product I'd be using if that was the ultimate goal, is show car perfect, no fillers, no nothing. So
makes sense. It's good. Sirs, I am confused as to how to wash my microfiber towels, separating clean from dirty. I get that, but if I have 2 paint towels, example, 2 Eagles, one to remove sealant and one I wash windows with, should I wash them together? No, separate them. Your glass towels, anything that you're using for glass, you should separate from your paint towels. Yes, they may be the same type of towel, but what you don't want to do is get your wax and sealant towels mixed up with your glass towels, because your glass towels are then you're gonna have harder problems with streaking. You're not gonna get cleaner glass. You're gonna get issues, and it's just gonna keep going. So
I tend to wash my towels, and right or wrong, I wash them by what they're used for, not by what they're made of or what material, what type they are. Right. So if it's a glass towel, all my glass towels in one load. If it's for wheels, all my wheel stuff in one load. If it's interiors, all my interior towels in another load. So what I use them for is what differentiates the load, not what weave they are or anything.
Yeah, when it comes to types of wash loads, the only time it becomes really important for that kind of different types is when you're talking about materials that aren't microfiber, in which case you shouldn't be washing them with microfiber at all whatsoever.
Yep.
It's like Morgan ran away. She
off over that. Well, she crested that ridge in the back. She's over exploring this other hill.
And I was like, Morgan, what are you doing? Morgan.
Hello.
She just kept walking. Yeah.
She's waiting for the fun half.
Yeah. Well, we're already technically into the fun half. So
yeah, we are.
But we haven't got any questions yet about that. So
they're coming
Kia
up.
Possessor, Hippolito Compost,
Kia.
they wash the cars themselves. Car washes scratch cars. And then Sir says, sorry, I'm new, and all the video and watches on washing microfiber seem to not go into that specific. Oh, well, that's good to know. Hans is back at it. What lighting in a shop would be better, LED or fluorescence? Honestly, Hans, the world's moving its way to LED. You're gonna get. You're gonna have to replace
cheaper
the bulbs
to run
when you do fluorescence. So
well, you also get the adjustability and things with LED that you can't get that necessarily fluorescence. So.
And the power savings too.
Yeah.
So
and if you plan on shooting videos, fluorescents are a pain in the butt.
So high definition paint coating and correct. Oh my gosh, I just had it and I scrolled. All right, this is for everyone. This is disputed. Do you use an iron remover before or after pre-rinsing? I use it after pre-rinse, so the iron remover gets better contact with the paint, and then I do my contact wash. So basically you're saying you're using an iron remover after washing the car.
No, you're saying after rinse,
after
then
rinse.
doing iron remover,
After
then
just
doing
a
the
rinse?
wash. Yeah,
Huh.
I would disagree there. You do your wash first.
Yeah, you want the paint clean. You don't want the dirt in a way.
I mean, my personal preference is wash, then mechanical decontamination, clay or clay mitt, then chemical decontamination, iron remover, and then another wash to remove all those. Because in my opinion, if the mechanical is going to remove some of the iron fallout, which it will, the only thing the chemical decon has to worry about is the stuff that the clay bar didn't get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Morgan, you totally ran over that hill so fast.
I did.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
What's on the
It's
other
kinda
side
like
of that
the-
hill?
You'll see
It
it.
was
Look,
really
it just
Truman
popped
Show. There was
over.
a hidden door in the clouds.
She lit it.
I gotta
Oh,
get
that
my
there
exercise
was.
in, you know.
Wow, that was amazing. Kale, Kakavin. Kakavin. Hey guys, from Quebec. Thanks for sharing information. You're welcome, man.
Thank you.
Hippolyto Compost, Kia Possessor, thumbs up. Art of Detail, Albuquerque. I have huge problems with Audi black paint, marring with even the softest of towels and gently wiping. Any suggestions on this problem? Art, what towels are you using? I know Art buys some TRC towels, but I'd probably either step up in your level of thickness of a towel on soft paint. Usually a lot of the times, one thing, it could be going from 80-20 to 70-30. Other times it's 70-30 and needing to increase the thickness of the towel because you still are adding too much pressure to the surface. So if you can have a little more cushion,
Yeah,
for the
more
cushion,
density
so to
reduces
speak.
contact points.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, like Dane's always told me, more cushion for the pushing is the best way.
I don't think
It's
Dane's
just
ever said
thoughtful.
Yeah, that's what he's always told me. He always says
Yeah.
that.
So
Very
is
thoughtful.
this the fun part? I
This
just
is the
wanna-
fun part.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
beware.
going into
You're delving into it soon here. The post will let you know when we reach
Yeah.
that point in the comments. We're not quite
Yeah.
there yet, but
Hey, my
Alkaline.
Behind, honestly. We've got
Yeah,
a lot.
we're
are
way
very
behind.
my go-to procedure for all challenges on paint is just sell the car.
There you go.
I mean,
yeah.
that is the ultimate answer.
And it's somebody
then
else's
not your
problem.
problem anymore.
Yeah. Alkaline Trio says, since we're coming up on the fun half, I'm mixing up a jug of Cosmos. 5 o'clock somewhere. Nice.
That's
A jug?
You don't have to wait for 5 o'clock. It's quarantine, man. You can start drinking at 9 a.m.
Drinking is
It's 5
perfectly
o'clock all the
acceptable.
time.
Yeah. Richard Wakefield, any possibility of a good cordless from Rupes? Something to compete with what Flex offers.
Always a possibility. Everything's possible.
Always. Yeah.
That's all I'm going to
Troy-
say.
Troy Preston,
thing.
is a car wax just a wax? What's the difference in a $20 wax and a $200 wax?
Ooh, can of worms.
you
So,
want to,
So that could be a
There
lot
are
of different things. It could be carnauba content. It could be the type of wax that it is. It could have certain polymers added to it. It could have what they call nanotechnology of some of the polymers that are added to it. There's a whole bunch of different stuff.
What did they say? A
some of it-
difference between 100 and what?
What's the difference between a $20 can of wax and a $200 wax? A lot
Oh,
of it
that's
could be your-
$180.
it is $180. That is
Next
the difference.
question.
we are in the fun half.
But there's a lot of
Math.
ingredients that go into wax, and so some of it can just be hype. Some of it can just be a boutique thing. Other times it's literally the ingredients that are going in and the cost of those ingredients. So
I always explained it. It's like a chocolate. It's a chocolate chip cookie recipe, right? Everybody's grandma and moms make chocolate chip cookies, and you can buy premium Godiva chocolate, or you can buy cheap Hershey's ones.
well,
but
not
there's a
even
limit.
Hershey's. You can get like the
You can get the
names
generic
like
store brand
Kroger,
ones that aren't
like
even
the-
chocolate
Great
at all.
value.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the store
it's
bought
all-
ones don't have grandma's love baked in.
exactly. There's no love, but
yeah.
but at a certain point,
Oh,
there's
man.
a ceiling to how expensive something can get, and then you're just paying
Right.
for extra. Even a very, very nice wax, the most high quality carnauba and blend you can get, it's hard to justify a really, really high price tag. So, but I say this too. You're paying for packaging, you're paying for marketing, you're paying for the brand. If it makes you feel good and you have the amount of money to buy it, who cares? There's $30,000, Solaris wax out there. It's in a crystal pyramid. I don't need a crystal pyramid, and I don't have $30,000, so I'm not gonna buy it. But if
you're
I
paying
had
for the container at that point. Is what
exactly,
You're
but
paying for.
so it's there is a difference, but
hand hewn.
in performance, not much. In your experience, sure.
Well,
Hold
and
on, I
like
need
we
to
say with-
exhume my wax.
Well, and like what we love about like Contact 121 or Malo wax, that wax is, the two waxes are very different. One is a very natural, normal carnauba based wax, for Malo wax, but it's got a really nice scent, easy to put on, easy to take off. And we basically tout that as therapy. You're getting aromatherapy and you're getting the chance to just kind of set your brain and meditate and lay down a nice coat of wax. That's all it is. And that's what it's for. It's going to provide 3 months of shine and gloss and protection. And then it's going to allow you to do it again a second time. And that's what wax is. So really, it's like Ellen says, however much you feel like spending and however good that makes you feel, go for it. But I would suggest picking up a can of Malo wax and or Contact 121 from the Rag Company. Hans closing.
Dylan, really quick, Dylan, I would like to say that the Solaris wax has actually been bumped up in price. It is now $58,000 is what it is.
Very nice.
So
Still a
They're
bargain.
just trying to find their ceiling. They're like, oh my God, people are still buying it at 30K. Bump it up more.
But it comes with lifetime free refills, Anthony. I could use $58,000 in wax in my lifetime, right?
Here's the thing. People who can afford that probably aren't the ones, I mean, generally speaking, they're not the ones who are going to use it themselves. They're going to, okay, this isn't for me. I just want to have this. Put it on a shelf. Show it off. If somebody comes into my garage, look at that. Isn't that cool? I'm never using it, but there it is.
The way I look at it, I'm just happy it exists.
Yeah.
I
That
am.
exists in this world, and that is something that somebody can buy is freaking amazing, isn't it?
The spirit behind
there is a limit. So one person can only buy 10 of them. So there is a limit. So just don't go crazy and drop in $580,000.
Just like toilet paper.
Well, what will I keep my summer home to wax my Ferraris if I can only get 10 and I have 11 houses? This is a problem, I face.
Tell you, wax your $30,000 refrigerator.
Yeah. Hans
Wax
Closing
in our
says, is it
fridges.
normal that my nano hybrid on speed 5 slows down while free spinning? Hans, I think we covered this a little bit earlier, that there is it is a smart tool, meaning that it will adjust as needed, whether it's free spinning or whether it is making contact.
Yep.
He says it also goes up or down. Yep, that's pretty much all on the same thing. There's a little brain inside there. There's a little knock sensor that will adjust that as needed. Richard Wakefield says, is there any way to get empty, unlabeled Wowo's bottles?
Possibly in the future. Possibly in the future.
This is
the
detailing.
fun potion.
Yeah. So
And we're free.
here we go. So he says, now that we're in the fun half, would it be wrong of me to screenshot Morgan's facial expressions and do a best meme giveaway? Nope, that's fair game. You heard it here
I would
from
actually like
marketing.
to see that.
Yeah. Morgan actually
That's
has,
an open invitation, folks.
Some say that there's an entire Morgan's Instagram dedicated to her facial expressions in various ways. So it's out there. It exists.
No,
Riley
let's
S.
not.
That like it
says,
was plural.
Morgan, what's your current favorite seasoning combos for roasted vegetables?
Delicious.
Great question. Great question. Did you guys know that flavor infused olive oils are a thing?
No, please
you
tell
would
us
know
more.
that.
But tell me more.
Of course you would know. Please go.
They have like lemon garlic olive oil that's already like infused, and you
I
can
love
like
that. Yeah.
put that on the vegetables and then just roast it with salt, and it's like wow,
But I have
Can
to
you
ask,
believe it?
what's it infused
Perfect.
with?
lemon
and
and
oil.
garlic.
You buy it in
Okay,
Colorado.
see,
it's
that's
something
what we're
else.
saying. Okay.
Dylan,
Infused.
I mean, I hear that you're in Colorado. I'm assuming things. Okay.
Yeah.
but also sweet potatoes with rosemary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
definitely a
delicious.
Morgan thing. Okay.
Rosemary.
Vigor Auto Detailing says shot, and then AFT Mobile Wash says hello to my favorite crew. Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Hans says great. I was thinking that with Swiss tracks, what flooring would be better? The building I saw today has really beat up concrete floor.
Yeah, so did our place.
Yeah.
We're doing the new smooth rib tracks flooring. So
We have JTM 1979 says, hi Jason, Mini and Duetto Mark II coming sometime? Question mark.
Maybe.
Question mark. Back at you.
I love
we
how
go.
everybody's asking these questions. You guys can't answer.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I
It's
really
like they
wonder-
know.
I mean,
They're just poking.
I know why they're asking, but at the same time, do you think we're going to tell you now?
No.
Well, what's happening is Italy is watching them right now with this button they're about to press, and they're like, just wait for it. if they
It's an
say it, we're
ejector
pressing the
button.
button.
It just launches you out of here.
Hans closing
Bye.
Hans, where is GD at though? I miss his happy thoughts. It's true. The great
Yeah.
G Davis is
Where is
missing.
that guy?
So Luis Vasquez
probably
says, thank you guys.
Yeah. I was going to say he's probably
What?
unfortunately spending time with his family.
Or in jail.
You know,
Uh,
or in
Hans
jail.
says, do you guys think I lost it if I tell you I polished and coated it with G-Technic C1 and 2 coats of EXO? Polished what? The Nano? That's
Cool.
impressive. You
Okay.
did? Amazing.
Probably hard to hold.
Yeah. Aaron says, Aaron's so-called life says, what's up? What's up, buddy?
What's up?
Hans
Hey.
closing. What's sending in Rupa's stay home video is okay? Is it okay if there's a watermark of the editing software in it? I used a free program, but it comes with a free watermark.
Absolutely.
Hans,
How
if it's-
thoughtful.
Send it in without the edits too. We don't care. And like we said,
Yeah.
it's not a. We don't need the fanciest video. We just want to see the most unique application that isn't a car. So don't feel like you have to edit it either.
There you go. Alkaline Trio says, question for the fine folks at Rupes. I get the impression that brushless motors are better. Is there a specific reason why Rupes polishers are brushed? Is it for serviceability?
There's a lot of reasons that's part of it. A brushed motor isn't something you're going to be able to ever service yourself at home. Not right now, anyways. But there's advances in that technology coming too. So, as a company that builds our own motors, we wind our own current motors. There's things happening.
There you go. Aaron's so-called life again. Can the IK sprayer 2 be used for bleach cleaning? Yes, you can. David Olson, does Contact 121 work over other companies' sealants like OptiSeal? Well, Contact 121 is a wax and OptiSeal is a polymer sealant. So it does work over. I always do a sealant and then I do a wax on top. If that's what if I'm going to stack them.
Your longer lasting product goes underneath.
Yep. Hans, David Olson, it does, because Hans has done it. Hector in Puerto Rico, since the backing plate is an important part of the polishing system, what about aftermarket backing plates? Did you try them, Kamikaze, or any of the others?
Yes, and don't use them. Next question.
There you go.
Simple.
Alkaline Trio, any suggestions on how to vet the quality of a body shop? They're everywhere, but finding a good one seems nigh impossible. Google reviews, just word of mouth, ask some family, some friends.
Word of mouth is the way. Yeah.
It's kind of the biggest thing, because you want to see what, some shops are very quick and easy to get stuff done and not always the best price. Other ones are, very tedious and actually care about what they do. So,
well, pick me.
And it might be just an experience, but they tend to treat referrals even better than maybe just a rando who walks in the door.
Yep.
Like if you're referred by someone, they go, "Oh, that was good for me," and they brought someone in, and they're happier with both parties now. So
reach out to maybe a detail shop, or even sometimes maybe call like one of the higher end car lots. Like maybe your BMW dealer or Mercedes or somebody like that, and see who they recommend for a body shop, because 9 times out of 10 when they're doing some cars that are leases, so that they can be registered as certified pre-owned, they have to go through a body shop that dealership is vetted. Because they have to make sure that they're going to use either quality BMW parts or Mercedes parts or things like that. For us
Jason
here locally,
probably had a little more here.
Go ahead.
Me? Pick me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sell the car.
Sell the car. There you go.
Oh man, I didn't know he was going to say that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You said more and you got less.
I was expecting some great thing, and I know we accidentally cut Jason
I
off,
would
but
say
here it is. Here it's going to be, and then it was that.
This is the fun
there's
half.
nothing wrong with asking to see the body shop's process too. I mean, they're going to have other cars in there. See how they're spraying. See if they work clean. See what kind of polishing techniques they use. There's going to be stuff already in that shop you can look at that looks like they're doing things the right way. Then that's another way to judge them.
Yep, there you go. David Olson or Aaron comes back at it. Rotary polisher is like a sports car. If you're not careful, you can crash. DA polisher is a normal car like a Corolla. Everyone can drive it. But for a sport car, you need some skill. That's my analogy. Exactly Aaron, just like a Hyundai Elantra, high performance machine, not at all comparable.
Why did
to
I
a
know this
Corolla.
is exactly where it was going
Fine
to go?
sports car, lightning quick, easy to drive, but not for everybody. So
Yeah, it's
David
the torque
Olson,
is what really
thanks,
gets you.
Well, it kicks you back into your seat, especially when that two-step kicks in. You know,
Yeah, well, the anti-lag, yeah.
Yeah, once I get that anti-lag
Sorry,
going,
did it say two
watch
stroke?
out. Yeah, two-step, Dane. Aaron, and the Ford Mustang is the worst choice for a first car because you're likely to crash into crowds. Correct. Alkaline Trio, Anthony, have you considered augmenting
missiles,
your
those ones?
alkaline? All right, here we go. Anthony, have you? Oh my gosh, did it again. All right, my screen just jumped.
You
G.
want one
Davis
of us
is
to
back
get it?
into it. Yeah, if you can. I can't
Okay.
get to it.
Alkaline top hat. Anthony, have you considered augmenting your nut busting torque with a power probe? They're great for addressing unusual performance issues, especially electrical ones. Boy, I know Anthony's just going to go off.
Power probe.
Yeah, no.
Nice.
So I haven't. So typically probing is a little bit different than your typical nut busting, and so it's a completely different category. And I'm not saying that they can't both be intertwined or they don't eventually, kind of share some similarities, because I think they all mostly have the same end goal. But I would say that I just can't get away from nut busting. I mean, I busted those nuts probably I did 6 of them over the weekend.
6 of those, yeah.
And
you were at the junkyard.
And
you were at the junkyard there.
What are we talking about?
So,
he got
Jason,
a new impact driver, and he's very
proud of it. I got an impact wrench, a 1/2-inch impact wrench, a Milwaukee, and so
That
it has like 1,200 pounds of nut busting torque. And so I've kind of been explaining my process over the last couple of weeks of just all the different nuts I've been busting. And so I busted.
He knocks on neighbors' doors. He, yells it out on the street corner. Busted nuts. Anybody
no, this was what happened in the fun half. Kind of agreeing to this now.
But one thing I was going to say, Anthony, things the different, like you said, the power probing with the nut busting can work quite well sometimes, but you never want to do a nut bust before you power probe, because then that just kind of ruins that performance, like Alkaline's speaking of. So
pace yourself.
Morgan, who was that behind you? Probably a ghost.
Ooh, spooky.
There's the ghost of her ex-boyfriend. We haven't seen him since quarantine started, so we just assume that he's dead.
What?
Wow.
Covered him in sardine oil, huh?
Aaron's Window 98 has a new animation. Morgan just walked up the hill. Never knew that Windows 98 had an Easter egg. It does. And then, so Alkaline Trio says, is Anthony bring back the emo hair flip? Will Taking Back Sunday provide the podcast intro music? We've been in talks with them. I'm not sure how how it's going to all happen. But basically, Ohio's
we'll talk to them.
Hawthorne Heights, where we're trying. The longer my hair gets, and it'll start to get darker with time as well. Aaron says that's like asking what the difference is between cheap water and expensive $50 water. Water is water. Yeah,
Okay,
just might taste a little different, right? I think some people are picky about water. Morgan typically drinks Evian and
Starbucks.
So Starbucks, yeah, you're right.
Starbucks water.
Yeah, because higher taste in water.
Okay.
It's
really just pure.
It's more pure. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it tastes better when it's in the Starbucks.
Yeah, well, it's at Starbucks. Well, you can only buy it at select Starbucks. High-end auto detailing Puerto Rico. Any difference between using an IPA wipe down between polishing steps, like IPA after decon, then compound, then IPA, polish, then IPA, and then protect?
Only
That's a lot of IPA.
From a performance standpoint, no. But if you're trying to chase defects and you're going for perfect, yeah.
Better be making that money, Hector, if you're doing that much.
Yeah, somebody's better be paying for your IPA.
Maybe some Alcoholics Anonymous meetings are in order.
I was going to say, it's got more than a brewery over there. So
yeah. High def and paint correction and auto detailing said something very inappropriate. Vigor Auto Detailing, Dylan and Jason, if you had your own detailing business, would you offer a wash clay service without a polish? A training that I went to said to never clay without polishing. Jason knows, wink, wink.
You want to start, Jason? I have my own opinions. If I
Go
owned a
for it.
detail business, as if I've never owned one before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yes, absolutely. You offer whatever services your customers will pay you for. There's absolutely no reason you can't offer a wash clay service. I would recommend then put some protection down, but you don't have to polish a car, especially if they're not going to pay you for it.
Yeah.
I offered
Well, I used
I offered express cleanup services like that all the time. It was a wash, it was a clay, and a coat of wax. You didn't get any polishing for that price. It was the cheapest package I had.
Yep. And it was
Yeah,
a good package because a lot of people bought it.
Yep.
So my answer is it, and I think this touches on a misconception about clay, especially traditional clay bars. There seems to be this thought that every car you touch with clay, you're going to micro mar and scratch it, so you have to polish after that. And that's not true. There's lots of cars you can clay and not mar the paint, and you can clay and walk away and leave it like that. It's all about paint hardness, and paint hardness is a variable, and it's also about the aggressiveness of the clay, which is also a variable. But yeah, if I were in business now, which by the way, I did have a detail business for 12 years, but it was a very long time ago. And if I had a business today with what I know today, oh my gosh, I could make a lot more money today for sure. But I would make my bread and butter on express detail services, which is exactly what this person's talking about. So
Yeah.
it'd be quick clay, quick waxes, one-step cleaner waxes. That's where my bread and butter would be made right there, doing lots of those.
Yeah, and that's what I did, right? I did, you know, Ivan and I have that video of the wash clay wax that is tearing up the charts on YouTube. But it's literally a wash mitt or a wash clay mitt that we have. Ultra clay mitt works great for it. O&R, and then Optimum spray wax. And I charged $125 for that service with a vacuum and you know, light interior dusting and tire shine. And it would take my guys, if I put 2 of them on it, they could do it in 20 minutes at 100 and a quarter. And the car came out, it was shiny, it was glossy, it was protected, it was smooth.
Customer was happy.
The customer was happy. And it was easy. And if I was doing it by myself, it was a 40 minute job, depending on the car. And never had an issue with it. And if they wanted us to polish it, or maybe they walked around the car after it was clean and they were like, hey, here's a scratch, here's a scratch, here's a scratch, then we would say, well, we can polish it for you. And this is the next service and this is the next price. And then they go, oh, if I spend more money next time, oh, next time I'll do that. You know, and it was an easy way to upsell that customer. So, okay, Og. There's that one in the backyard. Augie's needing an umbrella. There's one in the backyard. Okay, I don't know what's
raining though. It is beautiful out. Why would you need an umbrella?
Go look in the closet. So Aaron says chemical guys have an almost $800 wax. Lol. McGuire's liquid wax would probably outlast it. You're right, probably, but they're all going to get about 3 to 6 months, depending on how you wash your car.
The nature of the beast with that.
Yeah.
Stuff, so.
Dunlop, first off, your channel's great, as well, all of you. If you knew then what you know now, what machine polisher and combo polish would you get for your first time? Stay safe, everyone. A Rupa is 15 and some Uno Protect. That's what I would
solid start
all day long.
What he
about
said.
The same, but back then
15.
I didn't have that option. So back in the day, that wasn't a choice.
When I was
rotary or rotary.
When I was polishing on the Arc, you know, it wasn't available back then.
Yeah. Ox
What
carts.
color rotary do you want to use? That's the most important
Black.
question.
You want a yellow one or a green one?
Oh boy,
Black
options.
We have G Davis in the house says reference the cushioning. Dane cannot lie. He prefers the women who beep when they back up. It's unfortunate that he can't install a rear view camera in them, and so Aaron.
I'm sorry, this is government mandated.
Yeah.
Can't wait for French fry with ketchup inside. No more mess. Yum yum. We have high-end auto detailing. Puerto Rico says, Jason, I was at the RUPES training you and others gave here in Puerto Rico. Anything different
Myself,
detailed related
I was there too,
you
buddy.
see here that you can see no other places, or you do not see other places?
Yeah,
So you-
Levi was there also.
So unique detailing things from Puerto Rico.
That
Please
you can't
share.
see in other places.
Well, like we want to dance salsa while polishing.
Well, did you
Uh,
notice anything they did there different than what you would see everywhere else,
Right.
Jason? Like, did they do anything strange in your opinion?
I didn't. I mean, we were driving. The one thing that amazed me, Jason, was when we were driving around and we would notice all those dudes setting up in like parking lots and abandoned, like where a house used to be. They'd literally
yeah, you
set up in the
talked about
driveway
that.
of what was left in the of the old house that was there. They just park on someone's driveway and they'd set up shop there.
Well, but also,
Um,
Levi, we were there right after that storm leveled the
Yeah,
island.
the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was
that's true. It
people
was
in
probably
like
that
blue
guy's house.
tarps. Yeah.
Yeah, there were blue tarps everywhere. But I mean, the fact that these guys were setting up, I saw more mobile detailers
Yeah.
and folks literally just working either at a gas station parking lot or set up, in a neighborhood, on the side of the road. And it was cool to see all the different cars that were actually getting worked on. Some of these dudes were
Yeah.
grinding and doing some awesome work and working on some
Yeah.
nice stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I think the work ethic was the best thing I saw. Was a lot of them just working hard.
Yeah,
So
their passion and their spirit, especially after being knocked down by this storm, they. I was actually worried about that event. Levi, you and I had lots of talks about this because we were concerned about doing this event so closely after that storm.
Yeah.
But the people that came, and we had a full house, they were into it. And how they explained it to me was the reason this is important at this time, right after that storm, is because you begin to appreciate what's really important.
Yeah.
And family is important. Taking care of the things you have is important. So this whole thing about making sure that if you do have a car after that you take care of it. It was opened my eyes completely to a very the endurance and the perseverance and the passion of these guys detailing was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I had a
Nice.
blast. I'd love to go back. Alkaline Trio says, I figured out everyone's background except Jason's prior to him switching to the ripoff Bob Ross reel. Jason, what was that background? A depressed college student in repose?
I missed it.
I didn't either.
So I'm cycling a few.
Which background? What?
Well, I know.
Said, was it
he had one that was just like a stack of pads, but
said
then he
a
had some other
depressed
stuff.
college student in repose? Probably the yellow circle one. Yeah, that's probably that one. Those are all pads.
Yeah.
That's our new
Extreme
pad.
close up.
Yeah.
That was a teaser. That's our new pads.
Hey, he didn't want to show you the whole thing.
Han says, whoopsie, do you guys think I lost it if I tell you I polished and coated the G-Technic C1 and 2 coats of EXO, my pneumatic? George, sorry about that. Oh, your pneumatic. Okay, cool. Nice. Well, no, I don't think
I
you
didn't
lost
know
it. I
he
think
was
you're
given a
taking care of your-
pneumatic George.
taking care of your tools, man. Dylan and Jason from Buffing Moose Detailing. I've been testing out RUPES car care products and I love them. Are RUPES car care products going to be available in bigger sizes? Examples, 5 liters, etc. in the US?
Not in the short term.
There you go, man. G. Davis says, Dylan, any plans to share your collection of David Hasselhoff memorabilia on Instagram?
No, because it goes down in value if I continue to do that. I got to keep the rarity up. Come on, you know that.
Excellent point.
Good to know.
These are originals, folks.
Yeah. Carissa Thomas. Hey, Carissa here. I'm in the middle of a detail, but wanted to say hello. Do you guys sell tops for the IK bottles for storage? We don't, Carissa. It's
Don't
basically
worry.
like a peanut butter jar. We've been working on it.
We know. We know.
Yeah. We have been working on it. We've been in talks with IK for years to get that happening. So
It's it's hard to convince sometimes that it's something people would buy, but yeah.
Well, it's hard to convince another culture that it's something other people would buy. They, especially when a company's based in another country, they just
We wouldn't know anything
hard to get
about that.
past that. Yeah. So
yeah, whereas here it's like, of course we do that, but you know, to some others, it's like, oh, that's not a thing we do here.
yeah. So Hans, my Rupa's stay home video has just been sent. Hope you all have a laugh. Don't send those doctors in white coats with their hugging jackets in their hands.
Hugging jackets.
Now I'm
That's
afraid
the
to open
nicest
it.
name for a straight jacket I've ever heard. It's a hugging jacket.
Hector says from High End Auto Detail in Puerto Rico, I feel like I want to go straight to Craigslist to sell my MR2 according to Jason's standards.
Oh no, keep your MR2.
Yeah,
It's a good
and
car.
then, Han says Greg Davis in the house, the great G Davis.
Hey.
And then he says, who you gonna call? Nutbusters. And then he says, hello, Hans. And then Randy Thompson, would Wowo's crystal sealant be appropriate for a 26-foot painted aluminum camper? Asking for a detailer friend, so novice friendly. Would one bottle cover the vehicle? Yeah, pretty novice friendly.
Novice friendly.
Let me put it this way: you're going to be doing sections at a time because you don't go.
Yeah.
You're going to be like literally applying it and taking it off at the same time. So it's one of those that it's going to be two people, one spraying, one applying, one wiping. So because that's a lot of area, and we always recommend, you know, you're working, you know, 3 feet maybe.
Don't do that
sections
thing
at a
where you
time.
go and you cover the whole side and you're like, okay, now I'm going to go back and
Yeah.
it's already.
No, three
What
3
have I
feet by
done?
3 feet on crystal sealant.
26
is
feet.
probably, yeah, 3 feet by 3 foot sections are about the max I'd go with crystal sealant because of how fast it cures and cross links. Otherwise, you're going to get ahead of yourself and you're going to create a lot of high spots that you're not going to want to. You're going to be hating life, but you'll have a very strong sealant on the surface. Han says, don't forget his friend Slimy, not creme de la Dane, Figurato Detail. And hey, which would be your favorite wheel cleaner? Clean wheels or brake buster? Can we see a WWE mashup challenge between Wowo's and PNS? Do it. Joe.
Oh my god.
Clean wheels and brake buster are on completely opposite ends of the pH spectrum. Clean wheels is a 2.5, brake buster is a 14. So they act similar, but they're very different products
Chemically
in the
very
way
different.
than the way they act. So it's kind of a kind of a difference. It wouldn't be the same style of competition. So Delphine, seeing the Alpine Renault behind Dane reminded me of my uncle. He used to be a designer at Renault and owned a blue Alpine back in the 70s. What an absolutely
That's
gorgeous and unique
awesome.
car. Thank
Good
you, Delphine. You just made Dane's day.
Yes, thank you.
Alkaline Trio, back at it. If we go with Aaron's polisher metaphor, what car does that make the RUPES DA polisher equivalent to? I'd like to get everyone's expert opinion on this. I'm thinking a Scion release series.
How dare you?
Ow. What?
Let's go ahead and just kick him out now.
Yeah,
Comment
I think the
removed.
Italians usually refer
He's
to it
gone
as
to
a
your
Ferrari.
training.
It would let's see, because we've got DA, that's dual action. It could actually be random orbital or gear driven because those are both dual action polishers.
True.
I would say that they are the premium equivalent of whatever vehicle you want to equate them to.
There you go. Very nice.
It's like an El Camino. It does two
Make
things.
everybody happy.
But an SS El Camino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fancy
454
with
with the LS6.
with the fancy
Yeah.
vinyl
Yeah,
tonneau
it's-
cover. Yeah.
Hans Closen says, Carissa Thomas, I wish the Y needed to make those ASAP. Levi is showing his big guns. Levi, if you want to show those off for a second there and just kind of do a quick flex. Thank you. And
You
then we
have no arms.
I had no
Feiwu.
arm for a second there.
Feiwu says, hey guys,
Lieutenant
I just started
Levi ain't got
using
no arms.
the IK Foam Pro 2 with Brake Buster a couple weeks ago. It started to leak bubbles from the side, even when I really tightened it down. Is there any way to fix this? Feiwu, that is normal. Basically what that means is you have sucked up into that topmost area. There's basically like a catch can in the top where you've sucked up some moisture as well as some bubbles and probably some air, and it has to release somewhere. That area is not gasketed. So think of it as kind of just like a fail-safe to keep your sprayer still functioning and working. So don't worry about it. Just don't overfill it so much next time, and try not to shake it around and create a bunch of bubbles to where when you release the air, it does get sucked up in that. So Aaron says, wow, Anthony's internet is so strong. He's outside. I can barely get internet in certain spots. I am outside. I'm outside on a beautiful day. It's not a
That's what
artificial backdrop.
you
at
walk
all.
out the front door of his house. That's what he sees. His Civic
Yeah.
and the field across the street.
Yeah, it's a desert plain.
Field.
RAF says, if I were to use Uno Protect as a one-step, what would be the best pad to use on most paints with minor defects? Let's just say using a Flex 3401 or an LHR 15.
Yep. There you go.
Yellow?
Yellow wool or yellow foam.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's actually written right on the bottle, actually. It says those are
There
the
you go.
two
Nice.
most recommended. So
We gotta bust through these. Well, here we go. So we have Vigor who says, guys, this is a video. Guys, that's a video series. All the elders of detailing showing the young pups what they would do if they could be 25 again, starting a detailing business. That is a series.
That's a good series.
High-end auto detailing Puerto Rico says,
25
a couple
again,
years
a
ago,
detail
I
series.
raced a young guy with a ponytail who was listening to Meat Love in a, I'm guessing Meatloaf, in a
Meatloaf.
tip cop Corvette at 93 miles per hour. A cop pulled him over. Did you know him?
did you know him, Levi?
I'm gonna try
Oh no.
that photo of me and the Corvette from that night, and I will try and post it on the Rag Company podcast discussion page on Facebook. But yes, that was me at a young 17, coming back from homecoming. Dropped my girlfriend off in Middleton. Was driving down State Street and was doing 93 in my uncle's 1980 Corvette with the T-tops off, had my ponytail blowing, had an 8-track of Meatloaf in the stereo, and I was living high on the hog. Cop pulled me over because the speedometer wasn't working on the car, and I was doing 93. So
Would you say you would have done anything for love?
I would have.
Well, except that.
But except that.
Yeah. So the Buff and Moose Daily, why do you think most people are afraid to ask for higher prices for their services? What factors do you feel can drive a detailer to charging more? Education, equipment, training, tools, insurance, overhead, all kinds of stuff.
Confidence.
I mean,
confidence.
when you have that experience, you get more confidence, and the rest kind of follows. So that's
why does a lawyer charge what a
try a lot
lawyer
of different things out.
One of the most interesting
ask them.
One of the most interesting pricing things I've ever heard. I don't know if you guys know Wes Walls. He's a detailer down in San Diego, very successful. Wes was at an event I was at, and he was talking about when he first went to that market in San Diego, he started out like the same pricing as everybody. And one day he just kind of decided to start elevating his prices. And he was raising them almost to an obscene level. And he said he wasn't having any problem booking the jobs. And all of the competition started to raise their prices too. And it became this thing is who could charge more. So you can be that in your market. You can be the guy who elevates the pricing, and there's always going to be the low guy, but why not be the high guy?
Well, and my thing was, I was the high guy in my neighborhood, at my shop before I closed it. I was the high guy in town. And my reason was I had a buddy who was a lawyer, and I literally asked him, what do you think gives you the right to charge what you charge hourly? And he literally said, I went to school for this. It's, I'm not charging anything more than another lawyer would, but I have a staff, I have overhead, I have all this stuff that I have to pay for. And I was like, I have all the same stuff. My rent costs the same amount if you're going to, if I was a lawyer and I had an office as I had a shop, like the rent's going to be the same. The paying the staff, you're probably paying your staff this much an hour. I'm paying my staff this much an hour. There's prices that are pretty normal across the board for a lot of people. So I think a lot of times we as detailers seem to undercut our own personal services of what we want to charge ourselves. And like Jason said, a lot of it's confidence. So
we kind of relates to the wax conversation. Swiss Wax can get away with charging $30,000 for a thing of wax because they're wax experts.
Yeah.
They also offer lower tier waxes too. So just because you have a higher price doesn't mean you can't offer budget friendly
nobody's
services.
Forcing you to go out and buy that $30,000 one. You got
exactly.
$201 one here. Okay, it seems like a bargain now all of a sudden because the same people are making this one over here. Okay, great. But once again, it's the thing that people always bring up is you're not paying for like the hour or two worth of work. You're paying for all the education that led up to it and all that other stuff. That's always kind of a common, business mantra. But it's true. You are.
Yeah. So G Davis has posted the very last one. I'm going to knock out these last three, and we're going to close it out, guys, because it is 5:04, and I think some of us want to go home. So
you guys owe me
Ryan,
overtime now.
Ryan says, when do you think we're going to see this beautiful cordless RUPES Mini? I guess we're going to say near future, sometime.
Eventually.
Who knows? Eventually is a perfect date.
Sometime.
Alkaline Trio. That fancy version of a Scion would be an off-leaf Lexus, like an ES300, correct? Yes.
Sure.
Just give me an LC 500, okay?
G Davis from the back, wrapping it all up in a nice tight bow. Looking forward to Anthony's new podcast, Tip to Tip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
nothing but
Dane,
back-to-back good advice. Okay.
Take us home, Dane.
Why
Where'd
don't
you go?
I? All right. So thank you so much for being here, Jason, Dylan. It was really fun having you here. We actually got to answer some like polisher questions and stuff. So did it feel worth it? I felt like it was worth it. And the fun happens its own thing. So yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all you who ask questions. We always appreciate that. Tell your friends, anybody else you know who's a nerd about detailing, bring them in here if they want to learn. Maybe they don't actually know anything, but they're looking to learn. Okay, great place. Start here. But anyway, make sure you subscribe to the Rag Company YouTube channel, as well as Rag Company Podcast YouTube channel, because you can follow up with us when we do our new shows. Click the bell so that you know when stuff's happening. And from the rest of us here, I guess this is saying goodbye. Adios.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Tim's going to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
Do, do,